The streams take a while to get themselves going. And I'll test.
I just got notified. Gary is live.
Oh, excellent. Yep. Well, it's there on. Do you watch on YouTube?
Yeah,
on
usually.
Facebook.
Yeah, YouTube usually, occasionally Facebook, but I'm slowly but surely stepping a little further away from Facebook. It's just the redesign is less. It's more ad and more pictures and and I'm the guy who would work in the command line in the operating system. So
apparently, I don't pay enough attention to it because I haven't noticed that it changed. Maybe it hasn't changed for me.
It hasn't changed for everybody. It went dark and heavier on the graphics a lot. And they hid the show me the most recent things on top. They keep hiding that. It's like, what's the game? 3-Card Monte.
There's Jen.
Hi, Jen.
We're not hearing you.
She hasn't spoken.
That's because I'm
There
muted.
she is.
Oh, okay. The streams are live. The world is hearing you.
Put it up in my mouth.
The stream is a little bit lower video fidelity than the Zoom.
So Zoom is better.
Yeah, the direct zoom I can look up in the corner, and maybe just because it's only the tiny window, but the stream window is just a little fuzzed out. Just a little. It's fine for YouTube and Facebook. How good could it be there, right?
Okay, I'm trying to make my full screen Zoom window work. It worked. Yay. I solved the purple problem. The purple people eater problem.
Oh, lovely.
So now I can make you full screen without things going purple.
So I can still be my pinky self. I noticed that I'm very pink now, so it doesn't look like I have red hair. I like it.
As far as I can tell, that's going to be you. Going to be your... hang on, I'm trying to figure out what buttons to push here. It's your camera, nothing I'm doing here.
Oh, so my camera was just making me look like I had red hair, and then all of a sudden it isn't. Okay, I'm down with that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look super pink. It looks halfway between pink and red here.
It's magenta. It's supposed to be halfway in between.
Well, perfect. Then it's exactly right. Kevin, meet Jen. Jen, meet Kevin.
Hello.
Pleased to meet you.
Best I can tell from all the audience research that I've done, which is almost none, Kevin is our fan. Not our biggest fan. Our fan.
I usually watch. Sometimes I might fall asleep while I'm watching.
I used to listen to the Triangle Talk Show to put me to sleep, yeah.
Well, I put it on YouTube
Unfortunately,
in the background.
Jen does it while she's on the show.
I have caffeine in a cup.
Have you heard from Sarah?
No. Let me go ping Sarah.
Okay. As I was explaining to Kevin, you guys never tell me whether you're coming or not. So it's always a big...
I always come, except for the time that you put it on Saturday.
Okay. That is true. You have never bailed on a show.
No.
But actually, one time when Reddit saved up all your messages for a week.
That was true. And then it dropped all of them on me all at once. And I was like, what's happening? And now he emails me instead.
Yep.
I do the Reddit thing too, but email perhaps is slightly more reliable.
It's what happens with this new COVID world. We discover tech problems and then we solve tech problems.
Yeah.
My employer went from roughly 10,000 work at home on a given day to over 80,000 in 2 weeks. Poof. So we're at 90-something% work at home was the peak.
And were they one of those companies that didn't want anybody to work from home?
Pre everything, they were you will be in the office. And, I mean, you can have exceptions where you have a day, but generally speaking, you work in the office. And they did that. I think part of it is tax incentives from North Carolina, because they started collapsing everything to carry, whatever it was, 7 or 8 years ago, and from multiple locations and work at home people. And a lot of people didn't make the trip. I believe it's something, the tax benefit they get has something to do with they have to actually be here. So the way to enforce that is be in the office. And they built this campus of open floor plan.
Not a fan?
Not at all. It's horrible.
My workplace is an open floor plan. But then again, my workplace is an open building house plan. I work as a nanny.
Yep. I was going to say, if your workplace was big enough, it might matter, but we're at 175 people to a floor.
That's a lot of potential just noise pollution that would just drive me crazy.
They've got the white noise machines.
Okay, if you have white noise machines, then you are acknowledging that open floor plans don't work. Like,
there is that.
Doesn't it just add noise?
Yeah, but it's kind of like the ANC, the noise cancellation on headphones. It's kind of adding noise, but it blanks out everything else. It's not louder than a lot of it. It just kind of offsets it. But everybody in the company just about has a set of these headphones that are really nice, and the company buys them at $200 and something a shot. But because it's so stinking loud in the office.
So as somebody who has never worked, I did have white collar corporate work jobs before I decided that I didn't want to be in that rat race. But I never worked for any entity that thought open floor plans were a good idea. What's the attractive je ne sais quoi of it that makes any company go, like, what's its sales pitch to go open floor plan?
The pitch is that spontaneous collaboration happens.
And how often does that really occur?
Now and then, but it happened when we had cubicles too.
Right. Okay. Maybe I was going to say that was my real question, is how often relative to cubicle times does that occur?
Yeah, it's the building layout doesn't change people's behavior enough. Because
when
I was just telling Gary about that, I started my career in a long time ago, had many more spontaneous collaboration things happening because it was the nature of the company.
Right. I was going to say the culture strikes me as being because when I worked at a major tech firm in RTP, and we had cubicles, and you could still hear other people. I mean, cubicles are not magical sound
you can still
preventers.
Stand up and
we just would go for
yeah.
over. You know, like, hey, I heard your blah blah blah. I have an idea on that. If you know, and it was company culture that, like, if you could propose better, like, by all means, everybody was in it to help each other have an easier workload.
Prairie dogging, they call it, I think.
Yep. And relative to Brendan's kind of podcast and way he works, the agile thing, which is the kind of the trend, but kind of not just a trend, actually is helpful, especially work at home, because of how you manage your work. I think takes care of any loss of productivity, because you're checking in a lot more often and all. And look, I'm at home. We're all at home. It works fine. Been at home since March.
Did you get word back from Sarah?
No,
Okay.
I've not heard back from Sarah.
We'll pretend it's just us, and if she shows up,
I don't want to put her business on blast, but she's got a lot going on right now. There isn't much work in grassroots organizing now that everything's gone digital, so her work has tried to pivot her to do other politically focused work. And Sarah is a woman of principles, and some of the other politically focused work does not coincide with her principles.
oh dear. So she's either fighting it or sucking it up.
Oh no, she's not a suck it up kind of gal, as you can probably tell.
Yeah.
So on that note, if anybody would like to hire an experienced grassroots organizer and will not have them shill for candidates that they do not believe in, Sarah might be available on the market. You can hire her.
I see the problem here.
Yep.
We can never come on and do a rant.
Hire her out from under her current employers.
Yep.
She didn't ask for this, by the way. This is just me trying to throw her bones. Because right now she's managed to find a way to make it work at work. But I'm sure she would love an employer who can let her stay focused on the one trick that she's the pony for, which is grassroots organizing.
This episode of the Triangle Talk Show is brought to you by Sarah Wagner's Hunt for New Employment.
It's not. It's Jen's hunt for Sarah Wagner's new employment.
All right. As you can see, the clock has timed down to zero.
Past zero. Yep.
Kevin, you know about the instant editorial
yes.
option?
Wah,
So
wah. Yep.
it goes like that. See, Jen, you probably never heard it unless you've gone to play back a show.
I listen.
Okay, so you've heard the klaxons.
And I've also heard what my voice sounds like, and I want to apologize for everybody out there in podcast land. I was born with it. I can't help it. It sounds different in my own skull.
It doesn't sound the same to anyone else either. Whatever you hear is not what other people hear.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Nobody likes
promise I'm a whole grown-up adult.
Nobody likes what they sound like on recorded playback. I only got used to it myself because I've heard it so much for decades. But nobody likes it.
Yeah, I did a community radio show a long time ago, and heard, "Oh, your voice is great on the radio." And it's like, really? Yeah.
Now I understand why my drama classes always cast me in the role of the shrew. I have that voice.
The Wicked Witch.
Yes. Oh, I loved playing wicked characters, though. That was always more fun than shrew characters are not fun. You're just salty and bitter for no reason. But wicked characters, you've got a reason.
Wicked everything is a little bit of fun in there.
Yep.
So you can play the wicked character on the podcast, which I believe you pretty much have been doing. So.
I like to think I played the salty character on the podcast.
Okay. Should I play the long, entertaining extra music introduction or the still long but not quite as long, less entertaining ordinary music introduction?
Yes.
Yeah, same response.
Dealer's choice. We're gonna go with the extra music until this is a test. It's just to see when somebody out there in YouTube land recognizes I'm playing copyrighted music I don't have the rights to and monetizes it. So
well, we can critique it.
Let's see what happens.
If you don't get a takedown or you don't get stopped monetizing, then
oh no, go ahead. I'll back this up. Plus, I got to get my my script up here so I can see what it is I'm going to say. Where did it go? There we go. Okay, trying one more time. From the studio, in the bonus room above the garage on the north side of Cary, at the foot of Mount Belzoni, this is the Triangle Talk Show.
Just cut the crap, kid. I want to know what the big talk's all about.
I don't think we should talk about this.
Then we talk all night.
Let's give 'em something to talk about. Another night of hearing myself talk.
Stop me if you've heard this one. Talk is cheap, yo.
With a little less talk and a lot more action.
I don't wanna talk to me.
So knock it off and quit the
Jen hasn't memorized this yet, otherwise she'd be lip syncing to it.
How it was and of course how it should be.
I'm busy enjoying it.
So the last line in there is, if you keep on talking, baby, you're bound to drive me away. I figured, it's perfect for a 2-hour-long podcast talk show on which I am Gary Pierce. If you look at underneath my name there, what it says.
You've got, for those on the audio only audience, he has put his patented hanging pants air quotes.
Triangularian. That's who I am.
And oh wait, hold on, there's words. And from the Yellow Room on the border of Carborough in the People's Republic of Chapel Hill, sequestered at the foot of Mount Okinichi, which is a real mountain, and I drove up it on Friday, and on the side of the hill with the chapel up top, I'm Jen, host of NannyCast.
And we don't have Brendan, and we don't have Sarah, probably don't have Sarah, and we'll find out. The other guy, for those of you that are watching the picture, the other guy that's over there next to Jen is not a regular podcaster host. He is our fan, and I believe I've got the tense and the number correct. He's our fan, and this is Kevin Flanagan. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I even just came up with a spiel. I'm in the closet converted into a desk, in the bedroom converted into a den, in the northeast corner of Raleigh, no mountains around.
You're on the other side of Mount Belzoni, best I can tell. And so welcome. The reason that you're here is when we did the thing about research for voting, which, well, I guess I should put up the title of the show. Episode 109, a civics episode, August 30th, 2020. Vote. I want to do this in an Elmer Fudd voice for some reason.
Vote
very quiet. Yep.
Yeah, very, very early.
I would like to point out that the title screen says August 30th, 2020, and I've already fielded at least one question on the Triangle subreddit. Your ballot is not printed yet. That's why it hasn't arrived in the mail for you.
It is available, but it hasn't been printed. And it will be mailed out.
It's about a week,
September
right?
4th. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they said they'll start mailing on September 4th. That's why when you sent in your absentee ballot request, it's not here yet. It's not just, we're not there yet. Next Triangle Talk Show discussion we can talk about they've been in the mail. Then you can start worrying it hasn't arrived.
Yeah. And you're going to be able to check. Details on this and other aspects of early voting coming up later in the program. That is my official broadcaster voice, which I don't use very often. Postmaster General Greensboro's own Louis DeJoy has promised not to delay mail-in voting, but also not to replace all the sorting machines he's already ripped out.
Yeah, he hasn't promised to address any issues either. So.
No. Yeah. He's promised not to make it any worse. We're already at bad.
Yep. So I invited folks on Reddit and in the audience to come talk to us on the show, to be on the show as guests on the program if they wanted to talk about their early voting research experience. And Kevin was the one, our fan.
I did see the answers though, and I am here to represent the written audience writ large because I remember the majority of the answers.
Yeah, I've got them on the show doc. You got the doc. It's down there. This is a long doc. It's down there, way down there on the bottom.
I'll use my salty shrew voice to be you guys, and then maybe next time you'll use your own voice.
Yeah, because we don't bite.
You don't bite.
Well, okay. And I'm not even sure I don't. The next thing I got here on the doc, Kevin, is you get to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I've been in the Raleigh area since 2001, but a native of New England, Massachusetts particularly. So there's that. After some years, because you've relocated here, Gary, but you had somebody who was more local, I found Drinking Liberally Raleigh, which, because you have my banner up, which actually is a much better way than people you work with to meet folks in the area, where you have something in common. And the organization, the parent was founded so that I wouldn't argue with the people I was having a beer with. I would at least be close, right? And we now get together on
a little bit like this show, where we don't invite anybody we really disagree with.
Right. And we've had folks come by who disagree pretty strongly, and it's not where you go. It's not the kind of place you go if you're going to seriously disagree, because there'll be 10 people there and you're going to be the one who's opposing. Doesn't make for the most fun, right?
So the drinking liberally part is not that you drink a lot, although you may.
Correct.
It's progressives, liberals.
Yeah, or something like that. We have folks who show up who are kind of lean a little libertarianish, but are not quite that far. We have others who say, yeah, well, the DSA is okay if they go a little further. The Democratic Socialist Alliance.
If they get a little more socialist.
Right.
Yeah.
And from 20-something to 70-something.
That's quite a big tent we are in.
I think that's more interesting.
So I'd put like 6 beer steins down there just to make it appear like I didn't understand.
Yeah.
In your title. But I do understand. This is your website.
And that's the national org. The local really only has a Facebook page, but
yeah. So it's under the banner of Living Liberally.
Right, because there's laughing and all the others.
Drinking liberally.
I think drinking is hands down the most common.
Laughing, reading liberally, eating liberally. What you don't have, and I don't understand why, is podcasting liberally.
It's
going to work on that.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to do the work. Sorry.
Well, I guess I should do that.
You may, if you'd like. Or you could just join. We use Google Hangouts, the local chapter's Facebook page. We drop an invite in to Google Hangouts, and every now and then we get somebody who's not a regular.
Sounds like it could be fun. Do you have like a topic?
No, it's not really that formal.
So it's just like this show.
Yeah. It's more, because it's mostly regulars, it's more about this one's kids, and some subset of folks will plan, like they're already starting to try to see if they can rent a house for New Year's out on the Outer Banks, which is the norm for 3 or 4 families do it. And they're, not sure if it's going to be a smart thing, but they're trying to lay the groundwork. And,
New Year's might be a little early.
Yeah, it might be.
So we'll see.
But they also might be quarantined enough themselves to think that's an okay risk. It's a small enough risk.
And when you met in person, it was where?
We used to go to, we were going for a long time to Tobacco Road, which first on Glenwood and then right around the corner on Jones.
So downtown.
Before that, downtown-ish, Glenwood South.
When people say downtown and they don't specify Raleigh, Durham, or Chapel Hill, does that?
Oh, I know that means Raleigh. Because we don't call our downtown. We call it Franklin Street. You say, I'm going to Franklin Street, or, or Carborough, or wherever you name the bar. And in Durham, I don't think I think they name the bars that they're going to. But in Raleigh, they're like, we're just going to go downtown and I don't know, just wander around, see what jumps out and bites us.
My
I
wife
live within Raleigh city limits, so.
My wife bugged me endlessly because when she says downtown, she means Cary. Downtown. And there is no downtown Cary, even though there's signs around this area where there are a few businesses.
Fountain, and that's your downtown?
Oh, there's
like a fountain in an Amtrak
downtown,
station?
But there's not like businesses downtown to speak of.
You can sit next to the fountain and drink if you brown bag it.
You're gonna make the people who have been working very hard to boost a downtown Cary. You're gonna make them mad because they do have kind of one.
They have a really good Chinese restaurant down there. It's got hot pot.
Yep. And I picked my wife up from the late train from Charlotte at like 10:15. And I said, you got to see this. And we drove down Chatham Street past 3 or 4 restaurants, and they were full of people at 10:30 at night in Cary.
It's good food. It's good food right there.
And they were, I mean, they were out, they were having a night.
Don't get me wrong. I never come to Cary to eat there, but it's good food.
Yeah.
And once upon a time, I preferred that Amtrak station to Durham Amtrak station because I could leave my car there. But now that we have Uber, I don't need to worry about where my car is.
I've been to the Durham Amtrak station once. It has a parking lot. It's just too small.
It's got like 4 spaces, and you're not allowed to overnight.
Okay.
So
yeah, they don't care.
I would park and take the train either north or south along the I-95 corridor to wherever I was going, DC or New York City or down to Florida. And I wasn't going to be back that same day, so I needed my car to be a little safer for a little while longer.
The great thing about having Kevin on the show is, as our fan, I don't have to explain that we go down rabbit holes, we chase squirrels.
But now we have Uber, so I can just get off the Durham Amtrak train, walk across the street, catch the TTA back to Chapel Hill, and then Uber from where the TTA drops me off, and I'm home. Woo!
Urban living and transportation at its best.
Yeah.
I could technically take a bus to work.
Planes,
I would
trains,
have to
and automobiles.
walk. Yeah, I'd have to walk like 2 miles to get to the bus and another mile after I got off the bus, and it would take me, I don't know, 2.5 hours.
I've got a bus stop just a few steps away. Yeah. And so once in a while I'll do the Google thing and say, here's where I am, here's where I want to go. Give me public transportation. 4 hours.
Yeah.
Other side of Raleigh, Durham, 6 hours. You can do it.
Yep.
You can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just have to plan to leave yesterday.
Right.
Okay, Jen.
Let me also say, Lyft is an acceptable alternative. In fact, I prefer Lyft because Uber and I went a few rounds about a stolen account of mine.
Well, and Uber's business practices leaves a little more to be desired than Lyft's.
Yep.
Yeah, Uber is...
and Uber's CEO and his approach toward women don't love.
Well, thankfully,
he's gone.
Not CEO anymore.
Oh, is he gone? Yay.
Oh yeah, they brought in a guy specifically to address concerns. Dara, I can't remember his last name. He came from another kind of relatively newish company, and I don't know if they're doing better, but they're fighting with California over are they employees or not.
We deal with that a lot in the nannying world. Are we employees or not?
Yes.
And luckily for us, the Fair Labor Standards Act makes it very clear that nannies are household employees. Period. The end. We're employees. But because of that, there's a lot of education we have to do of parents that we're not independent contractors. And because of that, I really do think that it's going to turn out that Uber drivers are employees, because one of the independent contractor bits is that you can subcontract, and Uber will not allow you to subcontract. The person that they've checked out to be the driver has to be the driver. And so I think that's going to be the thing that makes them employees.
But you can be a driver for Uber and Lyft at the same time. So
that's what I was going to say is I think their counter to that is, but you could have Uber and Lyft running on 2 different phones concurrently and work both.
So then are we saying, I mean, then it would have to change one of the contractor standards, which is that the capacity to subcontract without the client's permission is one of the things that is used as a standard for whether or not you're a contractor. Like that has to be removed as a standard. Because there are nannies who work for more than one family at a time. Yes. You can pull a W-2 from 2 concurrent families at the exact same time for watching 2 different sets of children at the exact same time. That does not insulate you from being an employee. So to me, it just being able to have Uber and Lyft up at the same time sounds like a nanny share. That's still an employee. That's still W-2 employee territory.
So how do they handle the benefits, which is the real thing that people are looking for?
Well, if you're a contractor, you may well not get any
benefits.
Yeah.
But if you're if they're going to call you an employee, are you an employee of both?
Yeah. I mean, a nanny share, you're an employee of both families that are sharing your time.
Yep. And Just because you're an employee doesn't mean you get benefits.
That's true. Yeah.
But they do have to pay the FICA, their employer
Yes.
taxes, their FICA, and you have to pay your FICA, et cetera, et cetera.
So back when I was freelancing a lot, I was also incorporated, and the company didn't hire me; they hired my company, which hired me.
Right.
Does that get around it?
Yes.
If you want to be freelance, you really don't want to be their employee.
Yeah, if you want to be freelance, you really don't want to be employee. You want to be an independent contractor. And for that, you get to expense your office not expense. You get to have a tax write-off for your office and for your pens and for your phone plan and for your internet and for your, all the things, your car, your mileage. If you're an employee, you don't get to write any of that crap off because
But there's
your
a bunch of
employer.
restrictions around all those things.
Yeah, because
Like,
your employer
it's
is
a business
supposed.
vehicle.
Yeah, your employer is supposed to be providing you with everything you need to do your job. So there should be no reason why you pay for out of pocket for anything to do your job.
Which is why, related to, I've heard a bunch of employers like mine doing stipends towards your internet connection. I don't hear anybody hollering for it because I work in IT, so why would you not have a decent internet connection of your own anyways? And standing up the VPN doesn't cost extra. Plus, if I get to stay home and not drive, I'm getting 40 minutes away each way every day, plus my gas mileage.
Are you going to turn down a stipend, though, if one appeared?
Oh, no. But I'm not going to try and yell for it, and then they'll say, fine, come into the office. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm saying in the nannying world, employers don't always provide us with vehicles to take our charges places, but they should reimburse mileage at the IRS rate, which covers mileage, gas, wear, and tear. And they should provide a stipend for whatever business rider you need on your car insurance. That's industry standard for us as employees.
That's the biggest way I got money out of my company, because there was never any money left to pay me a salary. But because of all the traveling I did for conferences and stuff, I got thousands of dollars paid to me in mileage reimbursement, which I guess, technically I was paying to keep my car going, but didn't seem to be a big...
I put those mileage reimbursement checks in a bank account, and then that's where I get the money to buy my next car.
Yeah. Okay, Jen, help me out with this. The Triangle Talk Show is a YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, and Facebook Live television program. It is a video and a podcast for the Triangle area of North Carolina. Pick it up, Jen.
Although we are a video show, we do identify as a podcast, and I will say that I primarily consume the Triangle Talk Show as a podcast on my podcatcher.
It's very intimate that way.
Yeah. Also, I do it in the car while I'm driving places,
we're
which is
right
probably
in-
not the best place to fall asleep.
The show puts her to sleep.
We talk about anything we want to, but we aim more or less for things of interest to those citizens of the Triangle. Sometimes it's local, sometimes it's broader.
I'm putting my name up because it says Triangular. Kevin, can I enlist you in the Triangularian gang?
It's fine. I probably wouldn't use the name in general,
Ever?
but
Okay, so
fine.
so give me another name.
I don't have one.
There isn't one, right?
Right.
Triangleites is what I heard.
Somebody said triangle
Resident of the
triangle
triangle.
lights.
Triangleites.
Yeah, because putting the U in there, that triangularians, I don't know why I did that, because that's just wrong.
But I live in Raleigh, and that's what I say.
Raleighite.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes we're local, sometimes we're broader. We are
Moving on.
definitely unfair and unbalanced. And Sarah sometimes comes on as our token libertarian to provide poise, if not balance.
Do you like that?
Absolutely. Yes.
That phrase? Because it's an absolutely meaningless phrase that I think is cute.
She's got a lot of poise. This is why you should hire her out from under her current employers. We absolutely get political, and we generally do at some point, even when we're not supposed to. Our website is triangletalkshow.com. Our Facebook group is triangletalkshow.com. Our YouTube channel is Triangle Talk Show, also no.com. And if we get 1,000 subscribers, we can do mobile live streaming. So you guys can come to the Black Farmers Market with me, or go to DeJoy's house for a protest, or go with Gary to whatever Gary's going to. Our Twitter is at Talk Triangle. So is our Periscope, because Periscope is owned by Twitter. So why would it be different? And now you can watch us live or on Memorex for those of you who are old on your Twitter.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah, thanks.
Podcast-wise, we're everywhere. Just everywhere. He's made a list of all the places that we are, but I'm going to do a plug for my favorite place, which is Pocket Casts. It is a podcast app and an even web page, and it is owned by NPR. So by using Pocket Casts, you support National Public Radio. But it's also everywhere else, in case, you don't want to support National Public Radio.
So I had commented in the past that I don't really know how the Twitter thing goes very well. And I came across this website that is 26 tips for Twitter tips for beginners you wish you knew sooner.
Is the first tip don't?
Tweet early and often.
No, that's the opposite of don't.
I don't know if we'll go through all 26 of them. Notice when you're oversaturating your followers. That's
See, that
the don't.
one is don't.
That's the don't. Engage more than you broadcast. The only time I ever put anything on Twitter is when I've got a show to pitch. So I don't engage with anybody because it's not a two-way thing for me. There's nobody talking back.
Nobody's on Twitter except for people trying to self-promote.
A lot of journalists use Twitter
Yeah.
Yes, it's really good
as a read device.
To tweet at them if you've got a story. And a lot of companies have Twitter as a means of circumventing whatever their customer support is. I've had really good luck with the airlines bypassing whatever nonsense they've got for customer support and getting real immediate support. Especially if I have a ticket number and it hasn't been addressed in a while, I'll tweet it at the airline. I'll be like, "Hey, can I get some help on ticket number whatever?" And they're like, "Yes, on it," and I'll get a phone call.
And they're back and they fix it.
That's and then there's Black Twitter, but none of y'all are black, and by that I don't mean listeners. I mean my co-hosts for today. So don't do that. That's a space
because we can. Those of you on the audio audience, we can see each other.
Yeah,
we're looking at each other.
That is a space that needs to be safe and sacred. And then the DC Public Library does every other Monday, or maybe one Monday a month, does a Twitter trivia, and it is the most impressively well done Twitter trivia I have ever seen. So that's a thing to do on Twitter, aside from getting customer support.
Rate My Room is amazing.
Rate My Skype Room, yeah.
Yeah, and there's another one.
By the way, yours gets like a 3.
Is it Spam? Yeah, I know. Is it Spam, the company? One of the companies, the old companies like that, decided that they were going to start basically fact-checking people live.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
By the way, My Room gets a 10 because you can see nothing and it's well lit. All the nothing that you can see is really well lit.
Yes. So far, I don't think any of these have helped me. Jump on relative trending topics. Don't do that.
But on the show notes, as soon as we start the show, we will be quickly, because I added to it a quick PSA to jump on relevant trending topics, and then we can talk about any other thing we have to talk about in Triangle.
Yeah. Okay.
Harry is now frantically going and looking and see what I added to the show notes.
I am. You added a PSA, public service announcement.
Yeah, because it's timely. And those of you who are listening to this on the podcast later, you're going to miss it. Sorry. Sucks.
So
should tune into the live show.
I'll put the rest of the 26 tips, a link to that, in the show notes. You'll see them on your podcatcher, your
Pocket Casts does show notes.
Or most of the others.
And it supports NPR.
Or the Triangle Talk Show website. Because that's actually the source of the show notes, the way Squarespace works. I just put it in the website, and
which is at triangletalkshow.com.
Yeah, populates the feed to the Pocket Casters. I use one no one's ever heard of called Podcast Republic. I don't know how I found it, but it works.
Podcasts have for a long time, but I'm decreasingly satisfied with it. I send it over to Google Home devices or Chromecasts, and that has been very flaky.
It
for
doesn't. So
months.
Pocket Casts is supposed to integrate with my Echo Dot, and it does not. And it hasn't for a very long time. However, it's still owned by NPR, and I will continue to support them until such time as I can find a different way to support NPR.
So, Kevin, where do you think you're going to go?
I don't know. I experimented because my work phone has a fruit logo on the back. I can't tell which direction.
I'll give you full screen. It won't matter.
I got it. But it has the fruit logo on the back. And so I need something that's cross-platform. And Pocket Cast is really good about that, at least.
Yeah, so Overcast, I guess, is the big overwhelming favorite on iOS, but it's not available on Android.
But my personal devices are Android.
Yeah, me too.
And as we were talking about early, my laptop runs Linux, and so not very Apple happy.
I am so Android. This is a Google Pixel.
I had a Google Pixel until work started buying me a phone, and then I sold it and discontinued the service because I didn't need it. And a tip for people who might get a company phone, get a Google Voice phone number, and then you can move it around all you want. It's the only number I've given out as my personal number in, I don't know, 15 years or more.
I was investigating that. I think I can get one now. I've got Google Fi, which for a while meant I couldn't get a Google Voice number because it would be the same thing. But I think now I can get one.
That changed, and you can.
Okay, so I'm going to put myself full screen. I will make the symbol, which will introduce Jen and her podcast. Jen.
Wait, Jen and her podcast.
Not podcast, PSA.
Okay. I was like, okay, so for those of you who've been living under a rock, and I assume none of you have, Chadwick Boseman, the star of Black Panther, and many, many other things, but most importantly, Black Panther, died recently of colon cancer or intestinal cancer.
Yeah, shocked the hell out of me.
Yeah, he managed to, I've always said that that conspiracies don't work because nobody can keep that many people cannot keep a secret. Well, it turns out, in his case, that many people can keep a secret. He has passed away, and I will say when I first heard the news, I was like, what police shot him? Hold up. But no, it was bodily functions that done did him in. Tonight, this very night, this Sunday, August 30th night at 8 p.m., ABC, which is that over-the-air TV channel, that one that you get on your bunny ears, that one that you don't need to pay Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus or anybody else for, is showing Black Panther with an extra bonus feature about him. So...
And no commercials.
Yeah, and no commercials. Please.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm my Sunday night movie watching group has already swapped. We were going to watch Akira tonight, and we are swapping over. We're going to watch Black Panther with the ABC showing. Please, if you have an ounce of dignity, an ounce of Black Lives Matter in you, please watch it. And Wakanda forever. Those of you who are on the audio cannot see, but I'm doing the salute. And please get yourself checked. Get checked for colon cancer. Get your colonoscopies. Please, please, please get checked. Because he was fighting it, and he fought it very successfully for a very long time. These things, when caught early enough, can be at least treated and managed, if not cured.
He was making these movies while he was getting treated.
Yeah.
And visiting kids in the hospital is what I've seen going around.
Yeah.
I stopped making podcasts because I was too wiped out when I was being treated for lymphoma, stage 1 lymphoma, the lightest version of cancer you can get, besides maybe a melanoma. And it wiped me out too much to do podcasts for the first 3 months of, I think we did one cancer cast just to talk about it. So tonight, what, 8 o'clock?
Tonight at 8, 7 Central, at 8 o'clock our time. And colon cancer runs in my family. We all get regular colonoscopies. It's definitely not something you want to put on the funsies activity list, but it's something necessary. And then you'll have something in common with my family. High five. Get checked.
Black Panther is an awesome movie. just watched it last week as part of my Marvel, because we got Disney Plus, and as part I'm going through all the Marvel movies. A little bit irritated that the Hulk and the Spider-Mans aren't on there because Marvel doesn't own the rights to
DC.
those.
DC.
No.
Spider-Man is...
Spider-Man is Marvel.
He's Moody. He's not DC? Huh. I thought all the Moody characters were DC and all the non-Moody characters were Marvel.
Well, back in the day, back in the 50s and 60s, when I read those as comics, DC were the good boys. Superman, Batman.
Yep.
And Marvel was the bad boys.
As I believe the Thundercats are DC.
I have no idea.
So.
No.
They were the only comics I read. I'm a nerd, but I'm not that nerdy, but I'm weirdly nerdy. But yeah. Tonight, ABC, you can get it on your bunny ears. And if you don't have any bunny ears, just try and see what your TV should be able to just pick it up just due to the little coax jack hookup in the back of it.
A coat hanger hung off of there is probably enough if you live close to the towers.
That is channel 11 as your ABC outlet.
And it's free. There's no cost like free.
Yeah. And if you haven't been following the Marvel movies, you'll miss a few things in that movie, but for the most part, you'll get what that movie's all about.
I'm a bad nerd because I'm not a huge fan of the superhero movies. I watch some, the ones that interest me, like Black Panther was great. But all of the Thor and all of those guys, And I also I've only watched the first Star Wars movie when it was new, and other than that, didn't interest me. I didn't think the first one was all that good, so I didn't.
Are going to pull your nerd card.
Yeah, no. But let's talk operating systems. No, just kidding.
So where do you go for your fantasy nerdness?
Not as much fantasy. I like documentaries more.
Fantasy or science fiction.
Yeah, not as much on the science fiction. Some of them were okay.
I'd just like to point out Black Panther is also science fiction because Wakanda has some amazing science.
Yep. What was the Warrior Nun was actually kind of funny, but as a series, it's easier to watch because you can do it in chunks. That's very recent.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Not ringing any bells with me, Jen. Warrior Nun?
Warrior Nun.
It's on Netflix. It's pretty new. It's the nun who fights the evil, and she's not really a nun. She's really a 20-something-year-old gal who got superpowers.
Gonna have to check that out.
As soon as you said Netflix, that's where I don't have a Netflix.
Oh, well. We stream a lot here in this house.
Yeah, we do too.
At home, I'm a cord nope. In fact, I'm a TV nope. But when I am pet sitting and outside of my house, I watch a lot of TV. However, tonight we're making an exception. Wakanda forever.
Yep. All right. Well, ballot research is our titular headline, our theoretical what the show is going to be all about. But that's not what I want to talk about yet, because we really got to talk about the Jacob Blake thing a little bit. They had the Republican...
Going from sad to sadder.
They had the Republican half-day convention followed by 4 nights of Donald Trump infomercial. And I'm not irritated that... And the Republicans complained that the Democrat convention was an infomercial. And the Republican... not a convention was also an infomercial. That doesn't bother me. That's what
from the White House lawn one night.
Yeah.
I would like to quickly put in a plug for. I am not a Melania Trump fan. I am not a Trump family fan. I hope my history on this podcast has made that very, very clear. The garden needed attention. And
okay.
I've heard from experienced gardeners and other people in horticulture that the garden definitely needed attention. So hate her all you want, just not for this.
I heard somebody say that you won't be able to tell how effective what she did was until next spring when the roses bloom, because it's the rose garden and they're not blooming now.
Yeah, but it did. This was maintenance well overdue. And feel free to ask your master gardeners around you. They will confirm this.
Yeah.
This was gonna fall on whoever the present first lady was, whoever that may have been.
Speaking of her, and Gary mentioned the not convention, I assume you saw the green screen versions of her dress descending the staircase.
I did not see those.
Oh yeah, go search for that later when you have time. It's a riot because her dress was the right shade of green to be a green screen, and the thing that I saw most was the COVID death numbers projected onto it.
Gary's looking for it right now.
Yeah, I can.
Sorry,
I can hear
audio
the
audience,
clicks.
you're not gonna be able to experience this, but you should look it up yourselves when you have a moment.
As
Yeah.
Twitter does, Twitter reacted quickly.
Yeah, this is Colbert, which is going to get us a pull down. It's not even playing. Come on.
I'm still your host, Stephen Colbert, and I'm coming to you the onset of with no social distancing, no masks, and no testing. I didn't know they kicked it.
Oh, it is exactly the right shade of green.
Yeah.
I had not seen it in its original
That is so
brilliance.
generous of her to provide the blank canvas. You can put anything in there. And I'm with stupid
Oh, honey, what were you doing?
Joe Biden, Stormy Daniels, the coronavirus, Black Lives Matter, whatever. I really don't care. Do you?
Oh, honey,
Okay.
what is you doing? What is you doing, girl?
Okay, so I guess that got us the flavor of it.
Yep.
It is exactly, for the audio audience, it is exactly that brilliant, in your eyes, bright green, green screen color green that she had a dress made out of. Why? Oh no, why? Who didn't do their job?
I heard somebody say, "Oh yeah, that was on purpose. It must have been because who didn't do their job." But I haven't seen any coming from the right side of the aisle any what they might have done if they did anything.
They don't have humor like that. It just doesn't
They don't have
exist on the
technical
right.
skills like that.
Well, they have.
I've seen their memes. They barely mastered Photoshop enough to put text on an image.
Okay.
One of my things I point out and have found a few times is when public figures neglect to register domains that are key. And keepamericagreat.com, let's just say that Trump doesn't own that.
Yes, I heard that, and now I'm going to have to dial that up here.
Yep. It goes to Biden. And the list of candidates that have that problem is endless.
Okay, this is keepamericagreat.com. Promises made, promises broken.
Yep.
Ooh,
So,
that's
Yeah,
handy.
it's a Biden-owned site.
yeah, I'll stick that in the show notes. And
Does Biden have to list that on his campaign finance report that it was given to him? Because I
don't know if it was given
highly
to him.
doubt his campaign went. Somebody had to register that a long time before this, because otherwise Trump would have gotten it. So it had to have been given
You'd be
to him.
surprised at what doesn't get registered until
I
somebody
probably would
notices. It's scary.
Yeah, even today. I mean, 20 years ago, big companies didn't think about it,
Right.
and now, I mean, they got whole departments that are designed to think about that. But Keep America Great.
And proactively register everything negative about the company, everything positive, everything just defensively.
Yeah,
Is WhiteHouse.com still a pornography site?
No, that finally went over to the White House.
that probably had a little IRS problem.
No.
Probably.
They existed before,
Right, but in order to wrest it from their cold dead fingers, they probably had a little IRS problem.
Hey, it'd be a shame if that business of yours, yeah,
Yep. So I
get audited every year.
I very deliberately didn't want to talk about the Republicans because that's been done with. I wanted to talk about Jacob Blake. I edited some video that helped me get a handle on it, and all I got to do is find it. Yeah, there we go.
Before we bring this up, I'd like to once again reiterate that the job of the police is to apprehend suspects, apprehend alive suspects. I know at times it is asking for almost superhuman feats, but that's still the job. It is not to execute suspects.
Yeah, and in this case, and because we have discussed the idea of a snuff film, this is not, because he's still alive. They didn't kill him. They just shot him 7 times.
In the back.
Yeah, but it is still very graphic, and so if you don't want to watch the very graphic stuff, then don't watch what I'm about to go play.
You are bogus!
As it turns out that there were 2 videos that were shot, and this is the first one. This shows him on one side of that car, and my little add to it was that I ran this through image stabilization, so you're seeing the frame jump all over the place, but you're actually seeing the footage in the middle of the frame be relatively still.
Yes, I would like to say that if those of you on the audio audience, this is, if you cannot focus on the square, which is the outside of the video, it's very lovely and stabilized. The car is staying put.
Yep, and this is slow mode, and we can't tell what was happening. There's been now some news, some announcements from the Kenosha Police Department saying that he was fighting with them. That was probably before even this, but he's down on the ground, and
I would like to reiterate, police as experts in peacekeeping, you should be able to anticipate certain expected behaviors that you will encounter, such as somebody maybe having a stress responsive fight and not overreacting when that happens. Just like as a nanny, I anticipate that a 2-year-old might have a temper tantrum, and I don't overreact when that happens.
Yep.
If you cannot do the job, you should not be doing the job.
So go ahead, Kevin.
There's a guy who's one of the top trainers of police, and I cannot remember his name, but his brand is Killology, and that's how he trains police. You must use overwhelming force because everybody out there is out there to kill you.
See, that's not somebody who should be doing that's not the job
agree,
of a peacekeeper.
But that's how we get where we are. That's
I know.
one of the components of how we get where we are.
I know. And I've realized that now we're here and now we need to walk that back. So that is that's why I keep mentioning it. I'm trying to be part of the walking it back. I will repeatedly mention, even, and this has worked even with the conservatives, the fiscal conservatives, you're paying taxes. You're paying taxes to these people to pay their salary. The job you have asked them to do, the job they should be doing, is non-lethally apprehending suspects and sticking them in the police car. And if they fight back, just treat it like a temper tantrum, let their stress response chill out, and then stick their ass in the police car. Yeah, and if you're drawing fire, you have a big old police car as a shield, you just chill out behind it, and then you stick their ass in the police car when they're empty. I don't understand. Why are we being like, I only got 15 seconds to get this done? You don't. The police are not under that kind of time pressure.
Yep. So as this image finishes off, people are standing in the way of what happened. But he was on the ground. They were working with him. And then suddenly he stands up and he's walking around the car. And he's not walking around the car fast. He's walking around the car pretty slow. And then I need to get to the other video, which is the one most people have seen. This came with its own warning. Where he gets up, he's walking slowly. This is the normal speed around the car. And
he's trying to get in the driver's seat, and then he gets shot in the back. When in fact, as O.J. Simpson showed, he could have gotten in the driver's seat. We could have had ourselves a little speed chase. There's no awards being given for fastest arrest.
Yeah, this is the slow motion version.
I think we should give awards for safest arrest. We have long ago incentivized the wrong things, and it's time for us to stop that and incentivize the right things.
Yeah. And the explanations that came from the police union don't make any sense in describing what happened here.
They're just trying to save themselves some inconvenience. Like, yo, you getting paid either way. Let it be inconvenient.
Yeah, they did note that they said he had a knife. And from this shot, you can tell in his left hand, he's got something, and I'll zoom in on it and put a little circle around it. He's got something in his hand, and you can't tell what it is from the video. But even if it's a knife...
What's he going to do? Cut apples in front of him? They're behind him.
He brought a knife to a gunfight.
It shouldn't have been a gunfight.
And in theory, the cops are yelling, put down the knife, and I isolated the audio as much as I could, and I'll run it a couple times. You hear him drop the knife.
Oh, they're so sad. They're not being listened to. Oh, no. That's worth killing over. No.
Yeah.
He's not stabbing anybody. He's carrying it like he's going to go cut some apples in the car.
Even assuming that he had intent of using it, he was moving away from them.
Yeah. I carry at least...
Let him get in the car and then hold the door shut if you're worried about him using the knife.
I carry at least one knife on me at all times. That's not for killing over.
Right. But you, like me, like Gary, probably aren't going to face those kind of circumstances or that kind of interaction with police.
No,
the closest I ever came was a Tamir Rice style getting drawn down on by the police because I had an airsoft gun, except I didn't get shot.
Right.
So I'm still waiting for a better description of what really went on.
I think the summary is the police shot him because they didn't want to be inconvenienced.
With a race component. I mean, if he'd been white, this wouldn't have happened.
Oh, no. As clearly, if he had been white, this wouldn't have happened.
If he had been white carrying an AR-15, it wouldn't have happened because
he would have been given water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Kyle Rittenhouse side of things, where people actually did die. That's the 17-year-old who showed up at the protest as part of a...
No, but he was being
brown and
inconvenient.
Can I do my gang sign here, my militia?
Yeah.
He was being brown or black and inconvenient.
Yeah.
That was it. That's what happened. He was inconvenient. And also not white enough to get away with being inconvenient.
Kyle has been charged as an adult with 2 counts of first-degree homicide.
But he is being held in a different state.
Yeah. And he walked past police cars before and after shooting 2 people with people hollering, "He's the guy, he's the shooter," and walks on past them. That video has all been out there.
Yep.
So I don't know that there's very much we can add to the discussion. Just wanted to...
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
I mean, why are we still, and I know black people are like, you're exasperated, honey, listen, but why are we still having to have this discussion? We are in 2020. Black lives have mattered since the beginning. Like, stop it. Do less work. You're not being paid to put forth this much effort, police. Like, don't shoot people. Just be like, sorry, suspect got away. Like, you get paid either way.
But when discharge of a firearm is normal part of the work, as opposed to that better be the exception.
I know. We had a discussion a couple of Triangle Talk shows ago about the command and control. Discharge of a firearm shouldn't be. And on top of that, I've read at least one police department's procedures, and it's not. So if somebody's discharging, that means command and control is down. That means your discipline is off. Like, the whole department should be out for blood because that's somebody not being properly disciplined in the job. Like, they should not only be fired and arrested, but the whole department should be just absolutely going for the jugular on anybody else who thinks that they can just disrespect like that.
Yeah. And it was, three officers there? Mm-hmm. And one guy?
And nobody went around the other way around the vehicle to prevent him, to stop him.
Yeah. It's a fog of battle, fog of war situation, for sure.
There shouldn't be. They should.
But they
no,
are trained for that situation.
But it should not be. Again, they are experts. They are peacekeeping experts, right? There shouldn't be a fog of war. They shouldn't be having a stress response the same way that you shouldn't be throttling a kid to death when they're having a temper tantrum, even though the kid is wailing on you with their fists. Like, you should just be going, yep, this is one of the ways it could have gone. I see you're decided to go for option A, and so here's what we're going to do for option A. We are going to put down a spike strip right in front of your car. See you getting into that driver's seat. You go have fun with that, sir. We're going to drop this spike strip right here, and then we're going to sit back and drink our soda while we wait for you to eventually realize that your efforts are futile. Like, that's what it should have been. They should not be having a cortisol stress reaction at this moment.
Yeah.
So to be as generous to the police and supporters, they didn't know they didn't have a pistol in the car.
That's why they're wearing plate armor, yeah?
Yes, but they're trained for a different response, as we were talking about a minute ago. But they also didn't do other things to try and mitigate it, like go around the other way, hold the door shut so we can only stay in the car. All of those things would reduce the risk to them. So all they did was one reaction because that's what they're taught.
Yeah. So the things that haven't happened.
I mean, those guns were out long before he even got in the car. Those guns should never have been unholstered unless they, so I'm now a nanny. I was a school teacher. When I was a school teacher, we had a rule. You were not allowed to defend yourself unless you were taking assault. Like, I could not defend myself unless a student had connected with me with a punch. If a student threw a punch at me and missed my face, I still wasn't allowed to defend myself. Gunfire near me was, of course, a defensible position. But, like, don't unholster your weapon unless you're actually drawing fire. And yeah, okay, you could catch a bullet. You know, you only have plate armor here and there, but if that's not an acceptable risk, don't be a police officer.
Right.
You don't have to be a police officer. If you don't like them odds, don't be them odds.
We got 3 months since George Floyd. Things like this have been happening, not just since then, but, you know, for decades. What we haven't gotten is a change in who gets hired as a police officer and how they get trained. Getting a little bit of change at the top in terms of some broad instructions about how to do things, but it hasn't been systemic within our police departments yet. And I don't know how fast that can happen, but it's got to happen really, really fast.
Well, what's the saying? It's not like this is different. What's different is it's on the internet now.
Yeah. And maybe the biggest problem with the video we just saw is it didn't last long enough and it's too shaky. The George Floyd thing, to me, the thing that made it set the country's hair on fire was that it was stable and 8 minutes long.
Yep, 8 minutes and 42 or 6 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I should apply to be a police officer because I've dealt with people who are in fighting mode with knives and I've gotten them to sit their ass down. Maybe that's, it's people like me who just respond to something like that with, yeah, okay, you're going to try that, but no, this is still going to go my way without feeling the need to have your blood up, you know?
Yeah, but they're probably having trouble finding people like you who want to become police officers.
They also don't pay well.
Yeah.
They pay the same amount that the intro nannying pays, so I don't want to hear that.
So would you consider it? Would you ever have considered it?
See, I can't. The problem is I can't run. I ran, and if the physical fitness requirements had been lessened and the police force didn't have the policies that it has, yeah, I might have wanted to be like the Mr. Rogers neighborhood kind of peacekeeper police officer.
Well, so maybe that lends something to which the simplified version is defund the police.
Yeah,
But
no, I'm
the more
1000%
nuanced is, hey, let's do something besides have uniformed personnel show up for every damn thing.
I'm 1000% on team defund the police. I do think we need to sweep house and clean house and just go back to police officers as true community peacekeepers and truly peacekeepers. and maybe your nightstick is your biggest weapon. And therefore do something like Japan, where if they draw down on you, you seek shelter and you don't engage. You're not supposed to win every altercation. And you just keep track on them, because we've got helicopters now, right? We just keep track of them until they're in a moment, and then toss a net, like they do in Japan.
And many other
good luck
places
shooting a
tomorrow.
net.
Right. I understand the challenge, or there are a lot of challenges. I don't know all of them. I don't maybe even know many, but to send non-uniformed out as the first response, because how do people get in that position where they're reacting badly? Well, some of it is they have a history of it'll never go well when there's somebody with a uniform that shows up. It'll never go well for you, right? And so how do we break that cycle?
The Mr. Rogers and I'm a big fan of, like, look how it's been done elsewhere in the world where it works. Brazil had a problem like this, especially policing the favelas. And what they did as a response was they had community officers engage in the favelas.
Yep.
They would play basketball with the kids. And yeah, they were in the uniform, but they went on a huge campaign of, like, hey, we're here to protect you, not arrest you. And they decriminalized a lot of activities that honestly weren't hurting anybody. And it just went really well. I mean, there's still corruption in Brazil, but there are this neighborhood's police officers, and now I'm doing proper air quotes. And that neighborhood's police officers could walk up to somebody and go, "Hey, yo, how you behaving? Your mama gonna be okay with that? Like, stop it." And that's all it took.
And we would have to actually pay taxes to support that.
Yeah.
And maybe even companies would pay taxes again in this country.
Let's not get crazy.
Yeah, I know.
But I just, like,
one of the downsides of being old is you remember those things, right?
The story I like to tell, that one of those core memories, if we were in the movie Inside Out, where they have the balls of the core memories. I was 7 or 8. I was in Kentucky. I was at a county fair, and a guy became a spree shooter. He didn't get first place in the demolition derby, and he drank a couple of beers about it, and then he discovered that it was an open carry state, and oh hey, look what's strapped to my hip. And he started shooting because he was mad, or I assume he was mad. He had a feeling anyway. And people hit the ground, everybody's running, bullets flying, everything you would expect in a spree shooting. Only back then they didn't have a name for it. It wasn't it wasn't, what do they call them, active shooter incidents now. There was no name for that. But one of the other guys went, and I was near this other guy. He took a big sigh. He reached on his hip where he had a lasso. He takes out the lasso. He spins it above his head a couple of times. He throws it. It goes around this guy who's shooting, clamps his arms to his side. He gives it a yank. Guy falls on his face, and he goes and hog ties the guy. And the lesson I took home from that was there is more than one way to deal with gunfire, and sometimes rope is the answer. So that's why I keep mentioning, like, Japan's got the nets that they'll throw at a shooter. Like, why are we fighting bullets with bullets? That seems inefficient.
Because it's easy.
But you have to aim a little tiny bullet at exactly the right... Like, the rope, you just have to get over them. Like, we should be training people on lassos, man.
Worked for the Lone Ranger.
I mean, it was incredibly effective to the point where, at childhood me went, oh, like...
Yeah, but we also... Is it this country? It's this country for sure, but we can only ever overreact. B, we only prepare for the worst possible scenario. Like, how many years ago that there was the bank robbery in Los Angeles that they discharged thousands of rounds? Okay, you should have been shooting back at them. But,
I mean, they wouldn't have been able to discharge thousands of rounds if they'd been lassoed. Lasso them in the beginning. Good luck. Good luck firing when you have no control over your arms.
Yeah.
All you're going to shoot is your own foot.
But those are the exceptions, and that's how they treat everything.
I'm not sure that lassoing is going to be the universal solution, because there's a distance dichotomy in there. You got to be close enough.
But again, you can.
You probably have to be behind them so they can't see you. Otherwise, they're just going to shoot you. Bringing a lasso to a gunfight is probably less useful than bringing a knife. You can throw them. Well, you can throw both of them. I don't know. We'll see how that works out. When the Raleigh cops have Wonder Woman's lasso of truth hanging off their belts.
But the point is just thinking outside the box. Thinking outside the box, you can sometimes land on better outcomes. Oh, and I forgot to add. So this guy he's wailing on people, and it's not like he's the only one firing. All these other guys, because it's an open carry, state, county, I don't know what it is. Everybody's got a gun on their hip. Other guys were like, I shall be the good guy with the gun, because he is clearly the bad guy with the gun. So other people were trying to shoot at the shooter, and that's why there were bullets flying everywhere. And ain't nobody hit anybody.
And that has worked in such a small percentage of cases. It's might be 1%, the quote good guy with a gun thing.
Yeah.
And the sheriff at this moment, because it just happened to be where I was. I was near the lasso guy, and the sheriff was sort of a little bit behind me. The sheriff's deputy was just standing there out of range with his arms crossed, waiting for everything to calm down. I'm like, that's the kind of policing I want.
Well, I would have liked something a little more active, like at least try and get people out of the way, like some little kid standing next to the lasso guy.
I was on the ground. But yeah, it was like he waited until the guy was subdued before he came in and did anything. The sheriff wasn't even shooting. The sheriff was just like, seems handled to me.
Well, we are seeing guns become a thing on both sides to some extent. Switching into the Wild Wild West just a little bit too much. And this is a headline from today from the Washington Post. One person shot dead in Portland following clashes between pro-Trump supporters and counter-protesters. And the guy who was shot in this case was a far-right Patriot Prayer member, or at least apparently from the hat he was wearing. So, yeah. I mean, that indicates to me that the solution is becoming bring a gun.
It shouldn't be.
Well, that is going to play out so badly.
It shouldn't be. This is classic feud behavior. The feuds just keep escalating and escalating and escalating, and you can see how that worked out for the Hatfields and the McCoys, or the McDonald's and whoever it was they were fighting in
the Burger Kings. No, that can't be right.
No.
Or because that was the big, like, Outlander was the big, like, book that all the women were reading after 50 Shades of Grey. But it was about that particular feud, about the McDonald's versus I don't remember who they were fighting. Because I was in Inverness, which was Clan McDonald land, and they only ever wanted to talk about the McDonald's and how the McDonald's were right. But, like, this is a feud. It's classic feud behavior. And how do we break the cycle of a feud? Well, somebody far more authoritarian and dictatorial has to come in and have overwhelming force. And then the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Like, that's how we break feuds. And let's please not have that. Watch
out for what's going to happen, because I don't see good things happening from this.
No.
Is this the part of the show where you guys have fallen asleep?
No. Oh, maybe the other people. So I was going to mention, just related to the long list of names that, in recent times started with George Floyd. At work, large company, always very risk averse, very structured, but we had our senior VP town hall-ish thing, it was all just on WebEx, right? Because it was like a month or so ago. That they took half an hour just for, let's open it up for that topic, and how can we do better? Because we can't change the whole world, but maybe we can change a little bit of ourselves. So there's something to be said for that. And that's,
Vote for your city council members, ask them their stance on the policing. Vote for your mayor, ask them their stance on policing. Make sure that the people who pay the police department to be the police department have the same job description that they want out of their police that you do.
So you said the magic word, which allows me to move on to the next topic. the word was vote. I believe that appears in the in the show title. Vote very, very early.
Yep.
So this is the public service aspect of the program, and
we're not powerless yet.
Yeah.
We still have some say in our democracy.
Yep. So what drove me to make this the topic for the show, a topic for the show, which I don't always promise we're even going to get to the title topic of a show, but I'm going to drag you kicking and screaming into this one, is that early voting can technically begin as soon as you get a ballot in the mail, and they're going to mail them out on September 4th, which is less than a week away. And that's all fine, and we probably, most of us, have a pretty good idea who we want to vote for president, governor, senator, and maybe for Congress.
Please not Tillis.
You're staying in District 4, right, Jen?
Yes. Yes, I'm in District 4.
And Kevin and I are getting bumped to a new congressional district, District 2. You're going, Are you so far north you're going to be out of the new District 2?
I believe I am. I haven't looked up yet because it's far enough away, but it'll only take me a minute.
Yeah,
not Tillis.
Oh, that's easy.
Not. No, this is for our audience. Not Tillis. Not Tillis.
Yeah, I'm looking to see.
Thank you for attending my PSA. Even if you're a Republican, still not Tillis. Tillis is not the guy you put your hat on.
Okay, let's see if this is going to do the job here. Yeah, this is what I'm showing is a fairly.
Oh, did Andrew fix itself? Andrew used to have like a teeny tiny little bitty sliver going in there because one of their lawmakers happened to technically live outside of the district, and so they like had a teeny thing going like down the street around his house, and then back the other way.
Well, we have been re-gerrymandered, but what I'm looking at here, it looks like it's the existing map, not next year's map or this year's map for voting, and now I'm not sure how to.
This is where we need Sarah. She was on some committee relating to this.
Yeah,
but it's easy enough to find.
In any case, you can see the outlines of Wake County now. All of Wake County, except for the very northern part, is going to be in District 2, which George Holding, the current District 2 congressional representative, decided not to run again because it's there's no question it's been gerrymandered, but it's gerrymandered away from the Republicans into the Democrats, so he's not going to. Oh, I finally see the button that I need. 2020 elections. Yeah, just watch it change magically before your eyes. This is what District 4 was doing, and I'm in it over here. And are you in District 4 or District 1? Or
well, that's
the old,
where I'm
the old
looking.
District
I believe
2?
I'm going to be in 4 because I'm not planning on voting until early voting starts in person.
Okay. You might be able to. I'm not sure exactly how far north you are.
I see that you've taken my advice about vote in person.
I got the send me my ballot thing.
Yeah.
2 of them from I can't remember the organization, a third party, which they're sending you the official and postage basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very nice of them. That was really nice of them.
They are motivated that more people should vote early.
You have to be careful with those. These are the applications to get a ballot.
Yes.
And
but they sent a postage paid envelope, which was the nice thing because there are some people for whom the cost of a stamp is prohibitive.
Right. But there have been some of those that got sent out that were partially filled out for you. And that's
not legal.
Yeah, that's not legal. And there have been some sent out that the return address envelope was not to the Board of Elections.
I don't remember whether mine was partially filled out or not.
Yeah.
I do believe they had put my name on it just to match it with.
I think you got to be careful about using that. So
Yep.
anyway, with this map, this is the way the districts are laid out now, but not for voting, for coming up for the elections and for at least the next few years. It's more like this. And this here, this purple part is District 2. It's all of District 2. It's the southern 2/3 of Wake County.
See, and the white there up to the north is 4, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
you're with me. We're District 4. District 4.
Yeah.
Who's our
Yeah.
champion in the Hunger Games? I don't
So
remember.
all the inside the
Don't
belt line
remember.
is District 2, but the line to District 4 runs.
You see where it says Wake Crossroads? That's really close to where I am.
Okay. So yeah, you're going to stay in District 4.
Yes, I
Which-
just went and checked.
I know that no matter what they do, because they're inspired to want to gerrymander, that Orange County is always going to be together because that's how we
Right.
vote.
Okay.
They're just going to be like, all of Orange County needs to go wherever it's going.
So you're
And
going to get
my
David Price.
precinct-
You're,
Yeah, you're going to get Price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been in Price's district for except for 2 years of the time that I've lived in North Carolina. And now I won't be. And now it's going to be Deborah Ross, I think, is the candidate that I will get to vote for in the new and improved District 2.
Price is like a mediocre baked potato. He's not offensive, but also not exciting.
He doesn't make
Yeah,
headlines
it's-
very often.
I'd say on policy he's better than that, but he isn't exciting for sure.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
doesn't.
No, it's again a mediocre baked potato. I'll eat it.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. But that's the best I can say is it's fine.
And I think maybe there's some that you don't see if you're not very explicitly looking for, where he's co-sponsoring and stuff. But
Oh, he's
That will
a
never-
sneaky man. He plays Get Along Charlie, and he just works very subtly, and he's like he reminds me of what was being said about Amy Klobuchar when she was in the Democratic primary, like fine, which is actually in this day and
No.
age not a bad thing.
which is how I feel about Biden, honestly.
Biden is not my first choice, but he's definitely not my last choice. So there we
Right.
are.
Yeah, he was way down my list, but almost everybody of the 22 candidates that
117, I think.
stood on the stage in the first debate, there were only one or two that I couldn't see myself voting for. And even if they had somehow, like Marianne Williamson, even if somehow she had managed to capture the nomination and it was against Trump, that's who I was going to vote for.
Yeah,
I'm just glad it wasn't her. I'm not excited
I'm
it was
very
Biden,
glad
but
it wasn't.
yeah, but yeah, whatever. So ballots are out. They're not in your hands yet, but you can find out who finally made it. Now that the Republican convention is over, you can finally find out who made it. And this is what the form looks like on the Board of Elections website.
Yep.
And I'll do
And
this.
do check to make sure that you haven't been expunged from the voter rolls. There are, I don't know what it looks like on your area of the triangle, but in Chapel Hill, just about every 3 or 4 sidewalk squares, there's a new coroplast sign in the ground saying something about voting. Check to make sure you haven't been expunged from the voter rolls. Here's how you can vote early. Here's how you can get an absentee ballot. Here's how you can vote by mail. And like by my mailboxes, there are vote by mail ballot applications. And like I'm guessing, since I saw your faces, because I can see on the video podcast, you guys don't have that going on in Wake County, but do check.
No,
You don't want to be expunged.
Not too much, but I don't get out very much right now. I get to the store, I end up in Wake Forest more often than not because I'm that
Well,
far
then you would have
out.
driven by like 76 of these coroplast signs if your place was as bombarded as mine is.
Yep. So I'm
None.
going to check here. I've got my name, my middle initial, my date of birth, and I will narrow this down to Wake County. And I'm going to say I'm a registered voter. If I don't show up, I'll check under the removed or denied, and I'll push the search button. It's going to show my address. So you guys can find out where here's what we find out before my address. Yeah.
See,
There-
this is
There I am.
so
I'm
easy.
active.
Please check. Please check and make sure you haven't been removed from the
Yep.
rolls.
If there were some other Gary James Pierces, they would have showed up. And here's an interesting thing. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to remove some information. I'm going to remove my first name. I'm going to
Middle
remove the
is probably
initial.
most useful to remove. Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to remove the year of birth, and just
You have
leave.
to have a first name. It's got a star.
Okay.
You can call yourself Perry and then click on sounds like.
Well,
You can use Gary.
yeah, there'll be some other Gary Pierces especially if I take it out of just Wake County and look everywhere.
Yep.
And let's see what comes up.
So you realize all the data behind this is public record,
Yeah.
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is why you can see it, and you can see other people's, and you can download it.
Yeah. As I keep explaining to other people, that you vote is public record. Who
Right.
you vote for is the secret bit.
I did a project for my own benefit, my own exercise, to download and load that data into a database that I could query.
And Gary,
Because if you vote, if you vote regularly, I can make a pretty good guess who you're going to go vote for.
Gary, if you click on your own name and then scroll down enough that your address doesn't show. Wait, not on camera, so that you don't want to show your address, but it will show all the times you have voted.
Yep.
So it'll show, like, mine shows that I am a regular voter and have not missed a single election, which is why come election season, I am the darling of every single party because I'm also registered unaffiliated. So everybody wants to show up at my door because I voted in every single election.
Yeah, this goes back to 1994 for me. And I moved here in 1990 and voted, but I think it'll go back to 94 for everybody because they didn't put in the paper records. Right. This is when they started. And so looks like there were a few elections where I didn't, where I wasn't registered. Maybe I didn't. Yeah, general. I didn't start voting in primaries until 2008. And
then the nonpartisan would have been city, which parties?
Yeah,
well, this is the ballot that I took, a nonpartisan ballot.
Oh, okay.
And mine say Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. Well, Republican for the last two primaries because I was just voting against Trump.
Yeah, and that was this one Republican in 2016 primary when I voted.
So that gets the Republicans some hope that really I'm secretly one of them. Gets me a lot of those phone calls. See how I'm transitioning for you, Gary, on your show notes?
Yeah.
I get all the phone calls, all the unknown number phone calls.
Okay, so I'm going to select, and I'm not going to show this because it's got my address there. You'll find me if you really want to find out my address and come lobby in front of my house. You can do that. I'm just not going to make that easy for you. Here we've got sample ballots available, and for November 3rd, 2020, the general election, the sample ballot. And there it is.
Audio audience, he's just clicked on his sample ballot, and now he can see who the people are that he can vote for.
Yeah. And
wait, the Constitution Party made it to the ballot this year?
Yes.
Constitution Party's got ballot access. Nice.
And the Greens.
Well, the Greens, that does not surprise me.
Yep.
Like the Greens and the Libertarians made it, and I don't think they're going to lose their ballot access. But the Constitution Party's up there now. Wow.
Or as I call
They're
them.
even on the Senate.
And then I'd like to point out, those of you on the audio audience, sorry, but the very bottom bubble says write-in.
Oh, yes. And
that's where I go.
Because Jen is a candidate for president. I've got that on your title now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure you realize this, Kevin, but you are seated virtually next to a presidential candidate.
It's not that hard. You just have to have a sufficient amount of disposable income and the ability to fill out a form on a phone.
And other qualifications like.
Oh yeah, you have to be old enough and have
and
born in the
record
U.S.
and things like that. Yep.
Actually, you don't have to have been.
It's really not that hard.
You don't have to have been born in the U.S.
No, you have to be a natural citizen.
Yeah, your parents your mom can spit you out in a foreign
Anywhere.
country, as long as she and I guess your dad,
Yeah.
both.
John
Is it
McCain.
both? Yeah, are citizens.
Yeah,
No,
but
not both.
Just one or the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Good
I
enough.
would just like to reiterate, it's not that hard to run for president. So keep that in mind when you see who's running for president and when you see who isn't running for president. And you're like, why? You're so good. Why aren't you running for president? It is not that hard. If Jen can do it, you can do it. Why are you not doing it?
So I understand why you're doing it, but this is an argument I have with a lot of folks, and argument's probably an overstatement, but a cousin recently, I'm tired of the only being two choices. Well, first of all, there's not only two, but there's really only two viable. So, okay, fine.
There's five I can see right here now.
Right. So what have you done to boost this some other party? And I know that there's at least one person who comes here often enough that does this. So, but what have you done to boost this other party? Have you gotten them elected to county commission so that you can grow a bench? That you don't get to go from nothing to president, except Jen.
Well, I have told the story, haven't I, that the only reason I did it was to change the news narrative.
Yep.
Yeah, and Jen will go from nothing to candidate, but I'm not sure she'll go from nothing to president.
I have repeatedly, and even on my platform, has said, like, I am running so that I can set the bar so that other people can be higher than it.
Okay.
That's a challenge.
Very humble.
Lately. But a challenge isn't to go low enough that
I mean,
they'll
Trump.
all clear.
I pointed out why Trump is lower than the bar.
Yeah. I would rather have Jen as president than Trump. Easy choice.
I would vote. You know the phrase "yellow dog Democrat"? I would vote for yellow dog first.
I've heard, what is it, blue dog Democrat?
Yeah, the blue dogs are the very conservative. The yellow dogs are I would vote for a yellow dog rather than a Republican.
Ah.
Yeah.
And I think I might have voted for a Republican on occasion, but
I did vote for a Libertarian one time. And I voted for a Republican once. I thought that it was for, the soil and waters type commissions, and they were just the most qualified.
Right. But, and this was, would have been governor of Massachusetts, which most people don't realize. Massachusetts had like 5 Republican governors in a row in my adult life. Never mind the old days, right? But
yeah, people think it's a liberal state.
Well, I guess it's relative.
Relatively liberal Republicans.
Right. We had somebody running for commissioner of, I don't remember what the official title is, but it's the people who deal with the Chapel Hill waste, the trash, and I voted for a non-Democrat for that position because the person who was coming in with years of experience being a lower level.
Very much at that.
Yeah. They'd done it for years at a lower than managerial level. Their campaigning was like, I know what's wrong with the system. I've analyzed the system. I've worked in systems like this. I know how to fix the system. And then the person they were running against was just like, I'm a Democrat. That's why you should vote for me. I feel liberal about things. And I was like, picking up my recycling is, I was like, I see you want to springboard this into a political campaign, but also like, this is my recycling and my trash.
Right.
I want the person who's going to take this seriously and that this is their dream job.
If we get down to it, there's some League of Women voter questionnaires that are filled out that way. The Republicans got about that much and the Democrats got about that much in terms of text about multiple questions. If we get down that far, let's take a look at a little bit more of the ballot. So, I mean, so there's, Trump and Pence, and that's what Biden and Harris are going to look like. And although Trump is the first name on this particular ballot, if I understand what I was being told in a previous show, that will be randomized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they randomize it because there's first answer bias. This is true about like the SAT questions and any sort of other bubble in anything you'll ever take.
Yeah. So down at Senate, Tillis, Shannon Bray, the Libertarian. So shout out to Sarah. Cal Cunningham, the Democrat.
Not Tillis. Not Tillis.
Yes, and this is one of those things where a vote for Shannon W. Bray or a vote for Kevin Hayes is a vote for Tom Tillis.
Yep.
If it otherwise could have been a vote for Cal Cunningham.
No, I think that everybody who's going to vote for Tillis should vote for Bray.
Well,
and then
okay, that might work too.
Yes.
House of Representatives, again, this is my district. My new district, too, is Deborah Ross.
I've met her and had a chat with her at one march or another.
What'd you think?
We didn't talk deep enough about policy, but she's personable, which is all you're going to get, 5 minutes outside.
Yeah.
She's engaging and all, and then what I've read about policies are good as opposed to the opposite. So
yeah,
kind of businessy, but
businessy is in favoring business.
Yeah, leans a little further towards favoring business than I think, because I think we have
got
decades of going too far that way. Yeah.
Okay. So there's the button. I wanted governor. Again, these are the positions that I think most people have already figured out. Attorney General, probably you're going to vote by party because I don't think you're going to know who Josh Stein is.
So let me make a plug for why the judges. There's been a recent law change, and so the judges now show their party affiliation. You should ignore that when looking at a judge. You should vote based on their judicial record, because if the Democrat who's a bastard, or the Republican who's more about justice than about the Republican Party's ideals, may be a thing you need to notice before you just vote straight party.
And a judge is one of the positions where they are interpreting existing rules. They aren't making new ones. Mm-hmm. And so, for better or worse, a fair interpretation of the rules is probably better for everyone on average.
I've seen some judges with some judicial records that have made me want to sit down with the judge and go, hey, let me just sign up for that party, because I've seen how you've been ruling. Right. And, so that it's one where you might want to look into it. I did appreciate when the judicial elections were nonpartisan, because then you had to look at their judicial record.
Mm-hmm.
So on my ballot, I've got Supreme Court Justice, Associate Justice, a couple of them, Appeals Court Justices or judges, a couple of them. And so the question is, how do you go about finding their judicial record? Where is that hiding?
Well, I have a friend who works for NC Central Law School, and so I just shoot her an email and go, hey, what do you know? What should I know?
It's not going to work for everybody.
No, but that's so I will have to shoot her an email and go, hey, how do you find out what you know? And see what she says.
And if nothing else, search for the name and see that nothing horrible shows up is a place to start.
Yeah, there may be, like the Indy may get some of these folks, and they may have done the work for us. They haven't done it yet. I don't know if the News and Observer gets down into that level of weediness. Maybe. These are
important.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, they might.
Because judges have the power to do judicial review. This is just as important as legislative and just as important as executive. There are 3 co-equal branches of the government. I don't know why we're going to treat the judicial branch like an afterthought.
Well, there's even more. I'm under the second page, and there's a whole bunch more judges. And these are the things that I think most people, when they vote, they're going to vote by party or not vote them, because they're going to not have done any research. So the research should be easier than it is.
What I saw from the Reddit question, so Gary posed this question on Reddit: how do you do your voter research? And a lot of people said, we do our voter research for the primary, but for the general, we just vote straight ticket.
Yeah, there were a few people that said that. So let's take a look at some of that research. Well, before I get to that, I wanted to mention, because we had talked about this curbside voting and voting by absentee, but with your filled out ballot, by taking it to an early voting location. And last I'd heard, last episode or two, you had to still stand in line, which is not a great thing.
Unless you cannot stand in line, in which case then you get to do curbside.
Yeah.
Right.
So curbside voting, the list that is of interest to folks here are people who have a medical condition that puts them at increased risk of contracting COVID-19. I would easily qualify by age, by asthma, and by being a cancer survivor. Right? All of those work just fine. If you're experiencing COVID-19 symptoms, and then you have to sign an affidavit affirming that you are unable to enter the voting place and cast your ballot, and maybe that will work. But they will at least have these places set up. And I think, Jen, you pointed this out a couple episodes ago. All of the early voting places will have a place set up where you can do the curbside. Whether they accept or reject you based on what you're telling them or not, hard to tell. But it's something to try. I wonder if they're going to get swamped.
If you
I'm
have
sure
a
they'll get
handicap
swamped.
tag for your card,
God, I hope they'll get swamped. That would be, wouldn't that be a wonderful world to live in?
Except
if you have a
if
handicap tag for your car, the odds are you can pull up and they won't ask any questions.
right. But most of us
many
with
voters.
most of us with the COVID-19 excuse, or just
Right.
people who don't want to stand in that line. If the folks are standing 6 inches apart, a foot apart, not 6 feet apart, not they're going to have the X's down on the sidewalks or whatever. But people are ignoring those. And as I was on my solo episode, did I go too far last episode by saying that the Republicans are going to take advantage of this and they're going to flood the early voting with people that are going to be coughing on you and standing right up next to you?
I heard that. Either that or they'll just peel up the tape.
Yeah.
And say, not in my district, they won't flood anything, because I think you'd be hard-pressed to find more than 3 Republicans.
But they'll come from out of town.
They can't come from... Oh, early voting.
Yeah,
Haha,
early
I'm with
voting,
you.
they come from anywhere in the county.
I'm with you. Sorry.
And they don't have to be voting. They just have to be
In line.
irritating.
Yep.
And so I don't know. Will any of that happen? I don't know. But I got a feeling I'm going to go take my trusty Triangle Talk Show video camera and go look at a few
Which
places.
reminds everybody that he needs 1,000 YouTube subscribers in order to be able to give this to you live.
That's right. Wouldn't it be great if I'm standing out there at a couple of early voting sites with my phone, saying, "Look what these guys are doing," and it's live. I can do it on Facebook. That's where I do it anyway. But
Sarah, who is not with us, has done the not the poll watching, but the part where you go out in front where you're allowed to be rather than
Greeters.
inside.
I've done that.
The greeter
I've done that
things.
a bunch.
Yep.
Yep.
And she's been, because she's there and she's just like, hey, I'm here to give you water or snacks or whatever, literature on various candidates. And if something happens, please, and you can't report it inside, please come back and report it to me. I can take care of this from here. And that's what she's.
Now,
That would be a good table for you to sit at, Gary. Although it would put pay to your claim about not being able to go vote in person. Like if you can sit there and video people, then you probably could at some point pop inside and cast a vote.
I got a zoom lens on my camera. I can stand a long ways away and make it look like they're close up.
I'm intending to vote early because Wake Tech North Campus is right down the road, and that's a great big facility. I think that'll be manageable, and I'll be able to go at some weird time that, in the middle of a day or something, because my work is okay. Hey, I'm stepping away for half an hour to go vote.
That's my plan. But you've got a month between, more than a month from when your early ballot, mail-in ballot gets to you and you can send it in. That starts basically September 4th. Mm-hmm. I mean, you may get it the 5th or 6th or 7th
And you also
or
have
15th.
whatever it is, two weeks of early voting, 3 weeks.
Yeah, early voting itself is in person is October 15th. So you got a month where you could be sending in your ballot and not waiting around for the in person.
I intend to vote in person on election day because those get counted first.
Well, and earlies and mail-ins sometimes don't get counted if the margin doesn't warrant it, which I'm okay with that. I mean, I understand if you really for sure want it counted, but if it won't change the election, it won't change the election.
Well, here in North Carolina, Biden and Pence, Biden and Trump are neck and neck. Right. The governor's race is pretty close, and the senatorial race is also neck and neck. So all of the mail-in voting, especially if it's as big a flood as people are expecting, all of that is they're going to have to count them.
Right. There'll be so many more than previously. Yeah. My wife has done the drive-up curbside several times. She qualifies for the handicap mirror hanger and all, and that's probably even better because you stay in your car and pretty minimal contact, and yet you can do it election day. And where we are, there's usually a line, but it's 20 minutes or so. Although I have waited 2 hours for early some years.
The times I'm going, I guess I've noticed the spot, but it never seemed like there are people using the curbside voting spot. But if 50 cars came up to wait for that, they would be circling the block. Or they'd be stacked up, parked around the block at the Herb C. Young Community Center here in Cary. And maybe that's going to happen this time, but it's going. And Jen is in favor of it happening. It's going to be quite a mess.
Let there be so many voters.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Yep.
If we can get a turnout above 20%, my heart will be filled.
If you have not mailed for your ballot, you'll be able to do it online. You'll be able to make the request online starting September 1st with the North Carolina Board of Elections. And if you want to track your ballot once you send it in to see that it's been received, that's also going to be possible. They're calling it the Ballot Tracks, TRAX portal, and that is going to be coming soon. The request portal, September 1st. The Ballot Tracks portal, you're only saying coming soon.
I would say I have a good friend, actually one of the other Drinking Liberally hosts, who's a postal carrier. Based on what he says, mail it early.
Oh, yeah.
Mail it.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Give them that whole month.
Notice the title of the show.
Yeah.
Vote very, very early. And that's why I'm thinking... If you're thinking about mailing it in, don't wait for October 15th.
Right.
For dropping it off.
Vote early somewhere in person.
Put it in the mail and then track to make sure that it was received.
Right.
What you do if it never got received, I don't know if we really know what there is there.
I've got to imagine that would follow the same rules that happen if somebody tried to vote with your name. If you show up and there's already been a ballot cast in your name, you vote provisional, and they iron out whose is legit after the fact, but you get it on the record. So I've got to imagine if it doesn't show up and then you go there and then it came in, there's some rule that says if we have two, we take the in-person and we throw away the other one, or vice versa. But I would imagine it's the former.
That's the rule I had heard, is that if you vote in person, it takes away your absentee.
And you can request an absentee ballot and vote in person early or day of, and doesn't matter.
Yeah, I worry a little bit about using that as I mailed it in, but I changed my mind. I want to go vote in person. Technically, that's voting twice, which is illegal. If you're challenged because someone else mailed something in your name, and your position is that wasn't me, that's one thing. But if you really send it in and they're going to find out, and then you go to vote in person, you're probably in trouble. Plus, Trump is going to use you as an ad in the next election.
Oh, yeah. Or the
I mean,
next
Trump's already
20
using his
minutes.
own lack of law and order as an ad.
Right.
Yep.
And his own mail-in voting is horrible because he mail-in votes.
Yeah.
I give up on the finding logic.
So now the
But-
question is, since we need to mail in our ballots very, very early, and we've got all that stuff on the ballots that are offices that we haven't made up our minds on, how do we find out, what to do? And this is probably the number one spot here. I got it blown up just a little bit. It is the League of Women Voters Vote 411, and that's vote411.org. This is a national site. And it's got a lot of stuff on it, but what I'm specifically looking for is this find what's on your ballot. And so Once again, got to put in my address. So I'll take my face away. And now I can get my voting guide. And we'll do all races. Okay, why did it do that? Bumped me back to states and stuff. This is a little confusing. It's probably not
It
as
doesn't show you all races on the page. It says, let me go pick what races I want. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been here before, and it worked better before. So, but this is one of the issues you have with a site like this. It can get a little confusing. Go to my races. Okay. I think that's the button I didn't push correctly before. Go to my races. So now here are all the races.
So for those of you on the audience, he has gone to the League of Women Voters. He's gone to Voter 411, and then he clicked on the button that said My Races.
Yeah. And it's taking me all the way down to the Wake Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor election. So it's all the way to the bottom. But let's take a look at one where I'm probably don't know. Let's go to this Soil and Water Conservation District. Because this is...
That was weird.
Oh, yeah.
Go.
Yeah, it was above me. So it looks like I've got 4 people that are running, and it doesn't look like this is a partisan race. So lots of information on the people that are running, and League of Women Voters gave all of them, I think, 4 questions. I think it's 3 or 4 questions, and they could answer at any length that they want. League of Women Voters did not edit or alter their responses in any way. So, I'm looking at MC Brooke, who is a retired writer, and one of the questions is, what do you see as the job of the Soil and Water Supervisor? You'd think that would be pretty specifically laid out for the office, but here's what they think. And she says, I hope the district provides...
Those two things don't always run together. What it really is and what people think it is.
Yeah. I hope the district provides a connection to the county's rural and farm region residents. Does Wake County have any of those? They have a little bit, but not much.
I can walk to them.
There's a little. There are some farm areas in Wake County, north and south, I guess. Nothing on the west side, except the NC State Agriculture School. They got a little farm sitting there.
Eastern Wake, actually, it probably has more farm than you'd think.
So let's look at one of the other guys. I haven't seen how this compare thing works. Oh, okay. So you can get them up side by side. And Jean-Luc Duval has a little video here. Let's take a look. who will actually play.
I am the stone that the builder refused. I am the
What?
visual, the inspiration that made ladies sing the blues.
Where did it go?
I'm the spark that makes your idea bright. The same spark that lights the dark so that you can know your left from your right. I am the ballad in your box. The bullet
Well, he's got good music.
in a glow that let you know to call your brother son. The story
This is my new theme song. Especially the part where he says, "I am the ballot in your box."
Okay.
I like it. I want to vote for him.
And by pushing the wrong button, I realized that you got to see Jen dance.
The audio audience didn't.
My name is Jean-Luc
Oh, there he
Paul,
is.
and I'm a field organizer with Climate Action North Carolina in Raleigh. And
Oh,
before
he
you
filmed
ask,
it vertical.
No, I'm not French.
Why?
Long story
'Cause he's
short,
young.
TikTok
in French
or-
class in high school.
Because he's young.
I'm originally from Maryland, and I moved to Raleigh just about a year ago. But I went to Elon University and have been coming to the state ever since I was 12 for family vacations and
Okay, so he's
camps. So it's always
he's one of the guys running for Soil and Water. We had a Durham Soil and Water candidate on the show a few episodes ago, and she was fun.
She was my type
Yeah.
of soil and water candidate. Because again, when it comes to positions like that, I want somebody who wants the job instead of just using it to launch themselves into a political career. And she wanted the job. She
Yeah.
wanted to do soil and water. She had no further political aspirations. She knew stuff
don't-
about soil and water.
If I recall correctly, I don't think she was going that far. I was accusing and not getting too much pushback on the idea because she was very young, that this was a launching point to a
But she
Greater career.
said she really was wanting to be the best soil and water.
yeah. It
Commissioner.
wasn't a random launching point. It was where she wanted to plant her roots, so to speak.
But I suppose when I say people are using it as a launching point, I mean they're not going to show up for work. They're going to let the deputy handle all of it. They really just want the title to get.
I don't think Soil and Water Commissioner gets a deputy, thankfully.
Yeah.
But,
But-
it's like that's what I'm looking for in those particular races. I'm looking for somebody who can do the job, because if you just want to launch your career for, your political career and want a do nothing job, go be like chief of staff to the lieutenant governor.
Yep. It can be a launching point.
So you
we-
want competence.
Oh, it's so difficult.
Yeah.
Well, it's rare.
The woman that won one of the seats on the Wake County Soil and Water Commission last time was Jenna Wadsworth, and this time she's running for state agriculture commissioner. So
At least that's in the
But
same.
as far as I'm aware, she took her job as soil and water seriously.
yeah, and agriculture commissioner is in the same orbit.
It's in the same, yeah.
So
But that would be no different than getting, say, a promotion at work. If you're good at your job, you get promoted to the point of incompetence, right?
yeah,
Unfortunately, not always. Promotions wouldn't be a bad thing for me, but I'm not getting them. I don't know what that says about me and my work.
Or
But
your
you've
company and their capacities.
Well, yeah, that too.
yeah, you've risen
So
to
I've got my highest level of incompetence. Yes.
you're there. Now
yeah.
you know.
Yep. I've got a neighbor who's running for state senate. Somewhat friend. They used to live closer, and now they still live fairly nearby, but they used to live 2 blocks away. And she ran before and almost unseated barefoot, but the district has changed and he's out. She's probably got a pretty good shot this time around. Sarah Crawford.
Okay, she's not on my ballot because
Right.
Senate
Different
districts are fairly
state
small.
Senate district.
Yep.
It was almost amusing to see Barefoot's commercials against her because he was talking so much about her husband is a registered lobbyist. That was part of her pitch. Almost. I mean, she didn't go so far as, because my husband's a lobbyist, I know this. But she didn't hide it. She highlighted the exposure and experience. He won because the district was hand drawn for him in the first place. So
yeah, we may be in a little better condition this time. It's easier to tell with the U.S. congressional districts, the 13 of them that we've got. We know we're going to go from a from being a 10-3 split to a 8-5 split. We know that because once again the districts were drawn specifically to be safe for one party or the other, just not quite so overwhelmingly safe for Republicans. Yeah, the state will probably vote almost 50-50, and still the split will be 8-5, Republican over Democrat.
Right.
But that's better than 10-3, and it'll help us hold the House. The real question is, does North Carolina help Democrats take the Senate?
I've met Cunningham.
You're clearly a serious activist.
Not that serious.
Well, you've
I
met all
attend
these
events.
candidates.
Yeah, I mean, I met him because I'm early to things, as you know, Gary. I was early. He was there. There weren't as many people. You get to talk to somebody then.
But I mean, just going to these forums and stuff.
Oh, this wasn't even a forum. This was a protest type event.
Yeah.
And he was there, and it was early on, and we chatted for 10 minutes. And I got to make my argument why he should go further on health insurance. And I always, it's not health care they're trying to change, it's insurance. Almost everybody says health care. That's not it.
Access to health care through the mechanism of payment.
How we pay for health care is what's up. And he doesn't want to go quite as far as I would, but he wants to come right up to that line.
Yeah. Well, I think that he and Biden are in a similar camp, and that they are afraid that if they push universal health care, whether it's Medicare for all or any other single payer system, they're going to lose too many middle of the road people.
Right.
I'm a middle of the road people. They would not lose me.
You're not a middle of the road people.
I am. I have taken the quizzes. I'm a middle of the road people. But also I have had travel experience in countries with single payer healthcare, and I don't understand why we don't have it. I just don't understand.
Because American exceptionalism.
Yeah, it's because, boo.
We're the greatest country, except for all the other advanced economies in the world who have done it.
Yep. Yeah. Most people do. It's been part of their lives. Insurance as part of their job, been part of their lives for their whole life. A system that they're comfortable with, and until they lose it, and not enough people have lost it. To recognize that it can be done some different way.
Even so, I'm not that much younger than you, Gary. 10 years, maybe not even quite, but I don't remember anything other than that. And my parents might have, if they were paying attention.
If they would remember.
Post-World War II is when health insurance went to employment.
Yeah, actually during World War II.
Yeah, during. So
yeah, because it was because there was a wage cap,
right,
and that led to a benefits race. How to attract people? You can't pay them more because there was a wage freeze. You could offer new benefits, and one of the benefits was health insurance.
You've nailed it.
Yeah,
and if we went sort of back to that, where everybody had national health insurance, but it wasn't, because we'll never get, super high end here, but at least we get catastrophic and preventative and all the fundamentals, then we could have the benefit race again. Your employer can offer a Cadillac plan as a uplift to attract you.
Yeah, and that may be one of the decisions as to how to do it. Of the European countries that have national health care or national health payment systems.
Right.
I mean, some have literal national health care. All the doctors work for the government.
The UK has
don't.
Almost that.
Yeah. Most don't, though. And But some of them offer, there's only one plan. There's our plan and that's it. And some of them, you can get supplemental policies and your company can pay a little bit more. Maybe you can get some procedures done faster or whatever. I'm not sure what all the details are. If we ever get that far, I'm sure that we'll be arguing endlessly about how to sort out the details. We haven't got to the point of even saying, well, let's just do it and then we'll worry about the details.
There's a great comparison, even though it's really old, the fundamentals haven't changed. For Frontline, one of their guys who used to be, I think he used to be an NPR or a PBS guy, T.R. Reed, because I remember him as Tokyo Bureau Chief or whatever, I think for NPR. He did a set that's on YouTube, last I checked, for Frontline, where he went to 4 different countries and compared how they do health insurance. And I thought the best comparison was Germany. It's not as big a population, but it's still a fairly large population. He interviewed people in the waiting room, a kind of mid-career doctor, and the person in the waiting room, oh, well, we have a copay, $10, I think it was, each new doctor we see the first time, and that's to push back against doctor shopping. If it's only once per doctor and it's that low, that might not be a bad compromise. And the mid-career doctor, she was making, I forget what she was making, the translation, but she's making pretty okay money, $150,000 a year or something like that. For an MD, that's not bad. But the big kicker was 2 parts in the waiting room. How long did you have to wait to get an appointment? Well, I called about an hour ago and I made my way over here and I expect to be seen any minute now. Good. And then the doctor, they asked the question of, how much debt did you graduate from med school with because you only make $150,000? And she looked at him like,
debt?
What?
No debt?
What is this debt you speak of? Yeah. So,
Jen, I think you were telling me you got one of those copay bills that was $10.
Yeah. It was $10.32.
Yeah, fine, right? Especially if it's only the first time you see a particular doctor. It's not a huge imposition on people with very little.
And they were apologizing to you for it.
They were, yeah. And it was, okay, so $10.32 was the U.S. equivalent. It was some number of pounds. And yeah, they were extremely apologetic that I had to, they were like, we really wish we didn't have to.
Because normally those people don't pay anything.
Yeah.
For anything.
And I was like, guys, I pay $20 just to see my doctor for free health, like for things that are free under my insurance plan.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was, I'd cut my Achilles tendon. I had to have it stitched up. So that's,
ouch.
That's what this,
fairly significant.
It was a significant medical procedure. And I had to pay for the
surgery.
I had to pay for the antibiotic cream they used. That was it.
So the old clock on my console shows that we are a little past 6 o'clock. So we have to wrap. It does go fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's fun. We have to wrap up, but there's a couple things I want to mention before we do that. First is that the Indie Week endorsements are not out yet. I don't know when they're going to come out, but probably soon. The NNO endorsements are going to begin, and these are not just candidate information. League of Women Voters is just candidates' information. They don't endorse. They're totally nonpartisan. Indie Week will endorse, I'm assuming. NNO will begin theirs October 1st and begin by the 15th, which is earlier than they've done it in the past, but it's still a ways away. So finishing by the 15th puts all their endorsements in your hands. And as they say, we don't care whether you use the endorsement to decide who to vote for or who to vote against based on who we endorse. You'll just know who and why we're making this endorsement. Those will be in your hands at the beginning of in-person early voting, but not mail-in early voting, which is essentially next week. And I think that's pretty much it. I got a bunch of comments that pulled out from the Reddit folks.
Did
Concern.
anybody just say all I do is Google?
No, nobody recommended using Mr. Google for figuring things out. Concerned Resident 42. I look at the candidates' websites, local PAC websites, People's Alliance, Friends of Durham, Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People, Durham CAN, C-A-N, whatever that is. Pre-COVID, I would have gone to their candidate forums. I suppose they'll still have forums virtually. And you can look at their websites. And if you want to find individual candidates' websites, League of Women Voters Vote 411 will have their website. So if you want to go there. Obviously, all you're getting from their website is, here's what I want you to know about me, not not my whole history and, not the oppo.
Yep.
But, you can find that stuff. Faltering Eye. I love Reddit handles. Faltering Eye recommends downloading an individual sample ballot. Never surprised by the choices. Gator in NC. I guess that's like a Florida Gator in NC. WakeDems.org has all the Democratic Party nominees, which it does. Look under the Our Candidates section of that website for your breakdown. W. Hubbard has no intention of voting this early. Yeah, some votes are set, but what are you afraid of waiting until, say, like October? There's going to be more that comes out before November. And there's a point there. I'm not sure how good a point, but we've always got the October surprise. There are people who apparently have not made up their mind until the very last minute, and they're victim to the October surprise.
Can we please this year, please not have an October surprise? This is 2020, and every surprise this year has been bad. Can we skip that this year, please? Thank you. Thank you for listening to my request.
Oh,
The
wait.
only place any of the surprises would mean anything to me is well down ballot. There is no surprise that would be big enough at the top of the ballot.
Yeah.
To me.
And the surprise
Somebody
is
might get COVID and die. You never know. I just
Well, that's
no.
I
Not
would
this
be
year.
like the people in Missouri who voted for a dead person so that his wife would win.
Yep.
Because John Ashcroft lost an election to a dead guy in Missouri.
So total anonymity, although it's spelled ANNANYMITY. I think there's
somebody had the other one, the proper spelling. You know that is.
almost a nanny in there. They and the Mark Branley are both voting for Vote 411. So go there. And LRPFFTT, and I noticed that apparently there's no requirement in Reddit that the handles be pronounceable. Because
You just smash some keys.
Okay, well, LRPFFTT prints a sample ballot first.
And they said Google. I just want to point out.
Oh, they do say Google. Yeah. They read the information from the candidate's website, from IndieWeek, from Ballotpedia, which you haven't mentioned, but it's another place that collects a lot of information. Do a Google search for the candidates. If there are any major inconsistencies or controversies, I chase those, but thankfully that's not often.
That's where I was going about Google search.
They are not me, but their process is very similar to mine. If you toss in that I ask my professor friend about the judicial candidates.
You are not LRPFFTT?
No.
That almost sounds like if this then that, but not quite.
Doesn't it? Yeah, that's what I thought. But no, that's like when I read their procedure, I was like, that's exactly mine, minus that I reach out to a trusted source for judicial candidate information, because this person gives me unbiased judicial candidate rundown so that I don't have to do it. And time is a precious commodity.
And in their answer, I'll point out, in their answer on Reddit, they came back and edited to add an editorial, so I could push the button here. I seldom cross party lines in recent years because the GOP has become such a cancer. Every year they are more and more organized with their corruption. They used to be just a party with different views, but they seem to be organizing against democracy itself.
No, they do. I mean, that's not wrong.
Yeah. What I didn't see people pointing out from Reddit very much, there's one sort of in there, was recommendations from specific interest groups. I remember the Sierra Club had endorsements, and I'm sure a bunch of others have particularly pointed endorsements. So all those opportunities. Just grabbing a few other quick things just to hold you guys here just a little bit longer. Little Caesars is the most visited pizza chain in the state.
And I did mention I was in Little Caesars when I found out Biden picked Kamala Harris for running mate.
Yep. This is from a group called Top Data. North Carolina is not the only place where residents have a craving for Little Caesars. It's favored in 24 other states. No other brands are that popular nationwide. The company, here's the thing that caught my eye about this story. The company examined public cell phone data to determine where people have been getting their pizza since mid-March. That sounds scary.
Well, I went to Little Caesars one time. One time.
Apparently, they're tracking your cell phone.
And I'm not in Raleigh. Of course they're tracking my cell phone. I get paid for that. Google has Google Opinion Rewards, and they track your locations on your cell phone and send you surveys. Yep. I am comfortable letting there's some data of mine that I want to keep secret. This is not. I will let you know where I shop.
Yeah, Google knows where I go all around.
Google Maps is always on.
And
it knows exactly where you are.
One last public service announcement.
Incredibly helpful somebody was going to Charleston. And I was like, I ate at this really good place. And I went to my Google Maps and I looked it up.
Except now your Google Maps timeline history is a dot. If you're me anyways.
I still go from home to work to home to work to home to work to home to work to home.
Oh, I see. That's what you mean, because you ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, my Google keeps telling me it's 29 minutes to work. And I said, no, it's 29 seconds. Up the stairs, here I am.
Yep. One more public service announcement. Answer your phone.
No,
they need to text.
Especially if it's from an unknown caller. Because...
No, if the Republicans for Tillis can text banks, so can COVID contact tracing.
Okay, well, this is COVID contact tracing, but this is what I heard. One study found that more than 3/4 of calls go unanswered if the number is unfamiliar to them, in part because of the rise of robocalls. And I'm in that category. In fact, Google won't even let the call come through to my phone.
They need to text.
Several states, Georgia and Massachusetts, Kevin, have launched campaigns to tell residents to answer unknown calls because they might be contact tracers.
They need to text me.
North Carolina State University is studying robocalls, and in that study, they have dispelled a myth that if you answer a robocall, you'll get more and more robocalls. Apparently that is not true, and ignoring them doesn't mean you're going to get less.
I ignore them to save my own self some sanity, not because I want to change the behavior of the robocalls, but it would not listen to me, contact tracers right now. What you do is you send a text, you say, hi, this is COVID contact tracing. Somebody in your environment or someone in your connections has recently tested, just like they send these text messages for herpes and HIV, just the same. Like somebody in your contacts has tested positive for COVID. We will be calling you in 10 minutes. Please answer the call.
Well,
call in 10 minutes on the same number.
That should work.
And then you'll answer the call, or you won't because you're like, and you're too busy scheduling your own test.
But
I go to my doctor, I get the STD tests or the STI tests because they're now not diseases, they're infections, sexually transmitted infections. And they always say at the end, if you test positive for anything, would you like our text service to contact, your previous sexual partners for us? If they've figured that out, why are we still doing things wrong with COVID? Just text. Then somebody can look at it whenever they need to, whenever they have a moment. Maybe they're not allowed to be on the phone having a chat at work during work hours, because we know the contact tracers aren't working non-work hours.
Right.
Just text.
And that's why you're on the show, because you're a genius.
It's not genius. It's the capacity to go, hey, we've got a new challenge. Let's look at how similar challenges were solved successfully.
It wasn't in this article, and I've not heard it from anybody else. That makes you the genius. Take the praise.
Communicable diseases. Contacting the people that you may have spread it to. It's very similar to STIs. They've got that figured out for them. Just borrow their, why are we reinventing the wheel?
All right, and now it's time to say goodbye to all our family.
MICKEYMOUSE, Mickey Mouse.
I was wondering.
You're saying Donald Duck? No? Okay.
Yeah, Donald Duck.
Mickey
Nobody
Mouse.
wants to hear me sing.
Forever let us hold our banner high, high, high. Vote very, 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 very early. TALKSHOW talk show.
And that's why you're on the show. It has been episode 109. That was definitely civics. There was some politics in there. August 30th, 2020. Almost September, which means it is not almost fall.
It's almost my birthday, though.
We have another freaking month of summer. It'll be plenty of 90s for another 30 days.
Yep.
Maybe the last week of September drops down back into the 80s.
And please consider your Labor Day plans. Write them out on a piece of paper. Look at them. Find them glorious. Then burn them because COVID's still around. Yep. Stay home.
And Kevin, I'm sure you remember from living in New England that fall started in September.
Yeah.
And when Chicago, where I'm from, fall started in September.
Yep. Yeah. Part of the reason I live in North Carolina.
Because winter also started in September up there.
Some years. Yeah. I do remember when I was very young, trick-or-treating in a snowsuit. So I'm just fine with the do we wear shorts or long pants question.
Yeah. I'm also...
You get to wear long pants after the North Carolinians have switched out of their flip-flops. That'll be a while.
I don't, I joke that I got new work clothes because I got a new tie-dye shirt and some new gym shorts because this is my workplace. So I don't have to put on shoes, long pants, button-down shirts to go to work. None of them. I'm fine with that.
And may it always stay that way.
I would stay here till I can retire if I could.
There's a song, sort of a country song called "I Ain't Going Nowhere, Man. I Ain't Going Nowhere." It's basically the theme song of the COVID year.
Is that a play on the "I've Been Everywhere," which got adopted by Motel 6 or something?
Yes, it must be because it is the same theme. Okay.
Because "I've Been Everywhere" is a real song before it was a motel.
I've been everywhere, man. Yep. Gary is, for those of you who are experiencing silence, Gary is staring at his computer screen with an incredulous look on his face.
Well, this isn't what I expected, but let's see. This is
Rick Moranis, so there you go.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, he's agoraphobic.
I never go nowhere, man. I never go nowhere. Traffic's bad out there, man. I'm saving wear and tear.
This is going to get us a takedown.
There, man. I never go nowhere.
Or at least a monetize.
I feel like we have been critiquing it.
Bedroom, furnace room, hot tub, cedar deck, pillow, fire, washer, dryer, pantry, patio,
Wait. He has a hot tub? Hold up. You've got a cedar deck? Share the wealth, man?
It's dangerous out there, man. Might have been a big bomb scare. hard to get off of this easy chair. I ain't going nowhere.
Isn't that the song for this year?
I go online, DSL,
Yes.
Amazon, buy and sell, eBay, layaway.
Yep,
last
Amazon.
minute, Today, Plasma, Judy Judge, Broadband, Matt Drudge, J Crew, BNN.com, CNN, JPEG, email, pop-up, shemale, shower cam, filter, spam, slime, bam, I think it's spam. I ain't going nowhere,
Shemale.
man, never gonna go nowhere. It's a bungled jungle out there, man, some kid got mauled by a bear. Surround sound in my own lair, I ain't going nowhere. I got perimeter motion, doggy door, mail call, people, Avon, wireless strobes on, pin code, keypad, relay, pepper spray, home base, interface, 3-zone, plug and play, infrared, photocell, squad car, decibel, choppers up, sonic boom, activate the panic room.
He's going to get into a list of drugs that he takes here in a moment. But I mean, yeah, this is the song for the decade.
Ritalin, Coumadin, Zantac, Lipitor, Diazepam, Nexium, Prevacid, Percocet, Levitra, Levaquin, Elevil, Fosamax, Plavix, Keflex, Next Day, FedEx, Zithromax, Avalox, Flexeril, Topamax, Prozac, Ativan, Adderall, I take them all. I ain't going nowhere, man, never gonna go nowhere. I'm cutting my own hair, man, nothing I need out there. Outside sunny, but inside share, I ain't going nowhere.
My favorite line in there: outside sunny, but inside share. I think he's done singing. So that's Rick Moranis, the agoraphobic cowboy. I didn't remember it was Rick Moranis. Isn't that one of the Saturday Night Live guys?
He was in Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's Egon? No, not Egon.
I can't remember the names of the characters, but
Egon is the only one I can name.
He was the guy in the apartment.
There's Egon and Slimer.
That became the Keymaster.
Those are the only two I can name. And then there's the marshmallow guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And don't cross the streams.
All right, Kevin Flanagan, thank you for joining us on the show. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Went fast.
Yeah, this is.
Can tell your friend.
Tell all of his
this
friends.
This is also, much like work.
This is way more fun than work.
It's more fun than work, but headphones time.
That's why you got to get the teeny tiny earbuds.
Yeah. No, these were paid for by my employer. They work really well. They sound good. They block out the rest of the world. And the microphone is built in. I don't need the big boom with the fuzzy dead cat.
I didn't think I needed it either.
They sound good. As I was describing in the pre-show to Kevin, his microphone is communications quality. Here, I'll give you an example. This is what my microphone would sound like if it was designed the way Kevin's is.
Yeah.
And that's with almost no frequencies, maybe just a little bit in the middle coming through and almost everything else dialed out.
Yep.
And if I can get things set back to where they're supposed to be, this is what I sound like in full fidelity.
Not the Mr. Radio voice. Yes.
You don't want the Mr. Radio voice?
I did a community radio station show like 30 years ago. And
did you do it like this?
No.
Hi there, everybody. This is the radio voice.
Because I was putting on live Grateful Dead shows, so people weren't paying for that radio voice.
Well, before I disappear, because I need to eat dinner before watching
Same
Black
here.
Panther, once again, plugging, 8 o'clock tonight. You watch it on your ABC. I'll watch it on my ABC. We'll be watching it together. Wakanda Forever, Black Lives Matter.
Do the salute.
Yep.
There's the buttons I got to push. That leaves me, Gary Pierce, the
Hanging pants.
triangular.
Pants on the wash line.
Just for the stills at the end of that I put on the website. Yeah,
Trousers on the wash line.
Yeah, just need that shot for just a moment. This is the Triangle Talk Show. I'll bet Kevin knows how to finish the show. I'll say word number 1. Jen, you say word number 2. He gets word number 3.
I don't remember.
You'll figure it out. I promise.
Over.
And
out.